Chapter 465. 537 Taoist Rhymes. Xing Hui was quite satisfied with this harvest. Moreover, he would soon obtain a batch of primal chaos spells. These primal chaos spells were at least level 5, and there were as many as 9 primal chaos spells that were above level 10. If he sold these primal chaos spells, he would probably earn another 500 Taoist rhymes. A level 10 Son of Chaos was worth 50 Taoist rhymes. No wonder those low-level Sons of Chaos were trying to hide their identities in the real world. When I escaped from Broken Sword, I exposed the secret of the backtrack spell. Broken Sword has already guessed my specific level of chaos, level 40. Even if I inherited it, it would be level 20. With some items that carry the Tao, I can directly reach level 25. This is a number that can make any almighty take risks. Currently, the reason why Broken Sword has kept this secret and not let anyone else know is probably because he wants to monopolize me, the Son of Chaos. He already knows the secret of the backtrack spell on me. Next time, he just needs to be more careful and use the method of guarding my corpse. He will naturally be able to break my backtrack spell. Xing Hui's expression was faintly solemn. The difference in strength between the two of us is too great. If he uses his divine ability, he can completely kill me in an instant. I don't even have the chance to escape with my original body using the incarnation spell. After all, the incarnation spell has to be activated first to sense the coordinates of the descent. Although this process is extremely short, for an expert like Broken Sword, it's enough for him to use his divine ability to kill me. For a moment, his gaze could not help but fall on the teleportation spell. The incarnation spell's activation time had the characteristic of sensing the coordinates. However, the teleportation spell could be activated with just a thought. It was as if the teleportation spell could be activated as fast as his thoughts. If the teleportation spell could be activated, it could save his life under any circumstances. Of course, the best way was still to increase his own strength. Not much, but at least to the extent that he would not be killed in an instant. This way, even if he really encountered danger, he would have time to breathe. He could rely on the combination of recovery, personal space, and the incarnation spell to escape danger. The divinity realm, which is equivalent to a mighty figure, is much stronger than the golden core and indestructible realm. Even a mighty figure who has only cultivated an ordinary divinity would require dozens or even hundreds of golden core realm experts to swarm him before he could be killed. And this is under the condition that the divinity realm expert refuses to retreat and is unwilling to leave. If that mighty figure maintains guerrilla tactics, let alone dozens or hundreds of golden core realm experts, even hundreds or thousands of golden core realm experts would be wiped out one by relying on the advantage of his divinity. Xing Hui pondered for a moment. Considering the rich foundation that he had cultivated all this time, he had a vague guess in his heart. If I continue to cultivate at this rate, when I condense my golden core, there is a high chance that I can condense a superior golden core. The explosive power of a superior golden core is much stronger than that of an inferior golden core. When that time comes, although I dare not say that I can fight against a divine ability, but with the recovery characteristic of the 10th level, it will not be a problem for me to save my life. However, this is only limited to normal divine abilities. If it is a great divine ability, among divine abilities, there were normal divine abilities, great divine abilities, and supreme divine abilities. Among them, divine abilities and the grade of the golden core faintly corresponded. An inferior golden core did not have the possibility of producing a divine ability. A superior golden core only had a 20 to 30% chance of producing a divine ability. A supreme golden core had a 60% chance of producing a divine ability. Of the 40% chance, there was a 20 to 30% chance of producing a great divine ability. There was also a 20 to 20% chance that the divine ability would fail and the golden core would collapse. And above that was the supreme golden core, which was equivalent to having obtained the ticket to the transcendent realm. The difference was whether he had a 20% chance of condensing a normal divine ability, a 60% chance of condensing a great divine ability, or, the ultimate goal of everyone on Heaven Wasteland domain was to rely on that 20% chance of producing a supreme divine ability. A great divine ability was several times more powerful than a normal divine ability. As for a supreme divine ability, there was no solution. Other than relying on absolute cultivation and realm to crush others, anyone who tried to rely on numbers or divine abilities to fight against a supreme divine ability was courting death. It could be said that when a cultivator truly cultivated a supreme divine ability, he was already standing at the peak of the saint realm in some aspects. No one could defeat him unless they were in the divine realm. I wonder what kind of divine ability Remnant Sword cultivated. I need to find out more. Xing Hui muttered to himself and put this matter in his budget. But now, Xing Hui quickly focused his mind on his personal space in the Chaos Divine Palace. Then, with a shuttle, he appeared in the Chaos Treasure Pavilion that was faintly discernible in the Chaos Void outside his personal space. As his Chaos level rose to the 45th level, a new round of changes had occurred in the Chaos Treasure Pavilion. The number of heavenly materials and earthly treasures that appeared in the Chaos Treasure Pavilion had increased from 10 to 30, which was 3 times more. However, correspondingly, the consumption of Dao Aura had also increased. It had increased from 1 Dao Aura per day to 2 Dao Aura per day. On average, the amount of Dao Aura required to maintain the operation of the Chaos Treasure Pavilion for a year was an astonishing 730 Dao Aura. This was definitely a number that made countless powerful figures despair. With the consumption of 730 Dao Auras per year, I hope there will be 1 or 2 heavenly materials and earthly treasures that I will be satisfied with. Xing Hui muttered to himself as he quickly looked at the treasures that were sealed in the ice wall. The first thing that appeared in front of him was the core of the Great Sun. The core of the Great Sun. It was a treasure that was exactly the same as the core of the Great Sun that had turned into a blazing sun that hung in the void. The core of the Great Sun, this is a treasure that was formed after a blazing sun was extinguished. With the core of the Great Sun, will there be a divine beast, Golden Crow? Xing Hui quickly looked down. When he saw the 14th ice wall, he saw a lifelike and powerful creature that was filled with a suffocating pressure. Golden Crow. The baby of the divine beast, Golden Crow. An 8th level Golden Crow cub was 4 levels lower than the 12th level Golden Crow divine beast in the sky. Xing Hui lowered his gaze and quickly looked at the price. 600 Dao Auras. After a while, he looked at the core of the Great Sun. It was priced at 300 Dao Auras. The price was very high. After all, the core of this Great Sun had already been extinguished. Unless a powerful Golden Crow resided on top of it, as well as many supreme treasures of heaven and earth, only then could it be revived. Otherwise, it could only be used as a large-scale high-purity Great Sun crystal. The price is too expensive. Xing Hui looked back and forth between the core of the Great Sun and the divine beast Golden Crow. In the end, he could only sigh. If he really bought the baby Golden Crow and the core of the Great Sun, he was afraid that he would have to buy the Dao-carrying items that were sold by the major sects using the chaos spells, and there would not be much left. Furthermore, the Golden Crow was a divine beast. Even if it was a baby Golden Crow, its pride as a divine beast was still engraved in its bones and would not yield to any power. This could be seen from the fact that the big shot from the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce had bought a level 10 baby Golden Crow but could only kill it and refine its essence blood to sell. Although his chaos level had reached level 45 and he had a unique advantage in taming divine beasts and divine beasts, he did not think that he could make this level 8 divine beast Golden Crow bow down to him. With regret, Xing Hui looked at the other frozen walls. 10 portions of Wukong grass. Just in time. Xing Hui did not hesitate to buy all 10 portions of Wukong grass, spending 250 Dao Rhymes in one go. The Wukong grass could greatly increase a cultivator's ability to comprehend for 3 days. Xing Hui's transformative state cultivation was slow and his vital energy was not perfected. His cultivation level was also stuck in the transformative state and it was difficult for him to advance to the never-ending state. The 30 days of increase in comprehension brought by the 10 portions of Wukong grass came at the right time. After buying the Wukong grass, Xing Hui continued to look down. Soon, he found another portion of the Candle Dragon Soul Essence. This was an item of the same level as the Golden Crow's soul essence and was sold for 100 Dao rimes. Considering that the Candle Dragon bloodline was not perfected in the true element state, Xing Hui did not hesitate to buy it. Token of the World of Battle. There's a war-stopping order here. Xing Hui glanced at it for a moment and his eyes lit up slightly. The war-stopping order could exempt one from a war of chaos and could not be declared for the next month. The price, 200 Dao rimes. Xing Hui carefully read the description of the war-stopping order. To exempt one war of chaos, the war-stopping order would disappear. At the same time, the other party's token of the World of Battle would also disappear. A round trip would cost him 300 Dao rimes. If this world was really a game world and there were people supporting it, they could use the token of the World of Battle to force others to buy the war-stopping order until they went bankrupt. 200 Dao rimes. Qing Su sank into his thoughts. Even though Tianqiong had lost trust with him due to the damaged sword, Zhang Zhen, Zhu Zhao, and Tianqiong, the three venerables of Tianqiong had helped him a lot. As a matter of fact, the Zhu Zhao venerable master's light condensing sword was in his hands right now. It was impossible for him to just watch Tianqiong be destroyed in the battle of the heavenly ways. I'll buy it. Immediately, Qing Su took the war-stopping medallion. 10 portions of Wukong grass, 1 portion of Torch Dragon's soul essence, and 1 war-stopping order instantly reduced Xing Hui's Dao-bearing item, which had soared to over 560 Dao-bearing items, to a mere 11 Dao-bearing items. As expected, the higher one's cultivation base, the higher the demand for resources. No wonder those great experts can't even raise their chaos level despite earning dozens of Dao rimes every year. The shackles formed by the 30th level of the Chaos Treasure Pavilion are one reason, and the other is, too much consumption. I don't even have enough for myself. Where would I get so much Dao rimes to throw into the Chaos level to raise the Son of Chaos? Qing Su shook his head, and then his gaze swept through the Chaotic Treasure Pavilion once more. In the end, he chose a Heavenly Origin Pearl, 3 portions of Primordial Spirit Chi, a portion of Divine Rock Blood Essence at the Saint Realm, a portion of Unfalling Flower, a piece of Divine Meteorite Iron, and a piece of Void Fragmenting Divine Stone as his next purchases. He would buy all of them after the Chaos Incantation was sold. The Heavenly Origin Pearl was not expensive. It could be sold for 55 or 60 Dao rimes if it was purchased with 34 Dao rimes. The Divine Rock Blood Essence and the Unfalling Flower at the Saint Realm were valuable and could be sold as well. Although it would cost him 200 Dao rimes, he would still be able to earn back 100 Dao rimes in the end. However, the 15th level Divine Meteorite Iron and the 16th level Void Fragmenting Divine Stone were used to forge divine weapons for himself. They were purely consumables. His divine weapon was only at the 9th level. It could no longer keep up with his needs in battle. As his cultivation increased, he would soon be able to break through the sword intent left behind by the Reverend Zhu Zhao in the light coagulation sword and use this 12th level divine weapon. However, after the incident with the broken sword, the Reverend Zhu Zhao had already become suspicious of him. It was no longer appropriate for him to continue holding onto this 12th level divine weapon. As a result, he was considering finding a suitable time to return the light coagulation sword. After returning the light coagulation sword, he would need to exchange it for a suitable sword. However, it was no longer easy to purchase a divine weapon above the 12th level. He might as well buy the Divine Meteorite Iron and Void Fragmenting Divine Stone and forge them himself using the Divine Blessing technique. He wanted to try and see what kind of divine sword he could forge with the Azure Lotus Divine Sword as the foundation and fused with the Broken Sword, as well as the Divine Meteorite Iron and Void Fragmentation Divine Stones that had reached the 16th and 15th grade. Chapter 466. This time, the Wuji Sword Sect, the Qiankuan Sacred Ground, and the 6 Paths of Celestial and Demonic did not dare to play any tricks. They obediently handed over the chaos spells to Xing Hui. After obtaining the chaos spells, Xing Hui did not waste any time. Other than keeping the 14th level and 15th level chaos spells, the rest of the chaos spells were handed over to Gong Xing from the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce to be sold through their channels. Chaos spells were the same as items that carried Tao. They were hard goods that were hard to depreciate. A 10th level chaos spell could be sold for 50 Taoist rhymes. Furthermore, as the chaos spells improved, the price would increase exponentially. For example, a 12th level chaos spell could be sold for 60 Taoist rhymes. However, when it reached the 14th level, the price would jump to 80 Taoist rhymes. When it reached the 16th level, the price would jump to 100 Taoist rhymes. Due to the uniqueness of the divine art, a 20-level chaos spell could be sold for 100 to 200 Taoist rhymes. Even though Xing Hui kept 2 of the highest level chaos spells for himself, after selling all of them, the final profit was still a shocking 530 Taoist rhymes. With 530 Taoist rhymes, Xing Hui immediately took the Kunpeng blood essence, heavenly origin pearl, unfalling flower, god meteorite iron, void fragmentation divine stone, and other items. The total price of these items was 454 Taoist rhymes. However, because he planned to sell the heavenly origin pearl, Kunpeng blood essence, and unfalling flower, he only spent 220 Taoist rhymes to buy the god meteorite iron, void fragmentation divine stone, and 3 portions of primordial spirit chi. More than half of the 220 Taoist rhymes would be recovered after selling the heavenly origin pearl, unfalling flower, and divine realm Kunpeng blood essence. It would not be long before his Taoist rhymes would be recovered to more than 400. The matter in the eastern wilderness had come to an end. Xing Hui did not say goodbye to Nailan Fei and the rest. He went to the Hidden Sword continent through his personal space and the incarnation technique. Due to the incarnation technique's mutation, it was very convenient for him to travel to the eastern wilderness. The distance between the 2 continents was extremely far for others. However, to him, it was just an incarnation technique and less than 10 days of rest. The Hidden Sword continent was still the courtyard that the Divine Grace Chamber of Commerce had arranged for him. Since the 1-month time limit was not up yet, Xing Hui was not in a hurry to let Su Yuan recover completely. He glanced at the backtrack spell that was on cooldown. He pondered for a moment and took out the broken sword. The true essence seal on the surface of this broken sword had already been worn away by him, and without the obstruction of the seal, even if he only held this broken sword in his hand, he could still feel the terrifying sword intent within. He really didn't know just how powerful this broken sword would be at its peak. Now, let me see just how powerful the sword intent in this broken sword is without the seal. Xing Hui muttered to himself. Then, he used a wisp of primordial spirit chi and activated the backtracking technique. A moment later, he poured his consciousness into the broken sword and instantly activated the sword intent within it. For a time, he felt as if he was facing the mysterious stone pillar of Myriad Swords Mountain when he was still immortal. Magnificent. Boundless. Blazing. Berserk. Even if his spiritual level had reached the 92nd level, which was many times more powerful than before, when he faced this sword intent without any obstruction, his spiritual world still gave birth to a sense of insignificance that came from his soul. The sword intent that was filled with annihilation swept out in all directions, carrying with it the power to burn the heavens and boil the seas. Xing Hui's spiritual will that had been tempered thousands of times seemed to have encountered the end of the world. It was completely drowned by the surging torrent of destruction. The brilliant sword light was instantly bombarded and shattered in all directions in the next moment, bang. It was as if the universe had collapsed. In his spiritual world, the sword intent that had transformed into the shape of a shining dragon completely exploded, releasing endless sword light that illuminated the 4 seas. The brilliant sun frantically resisted the sword intent that had erupted from the broken sword. At the same time, it used the impact of the sword intent to continuously temper itself. However, even if his shining dragon sword intent had become stronger than before, and even reached the level of great accomplishment, it was still difficult to withstand the impact of the magnificent, vast, majestic, blazing, and berserk sword intent within the broken sword. Countless sword intents were obliterated one after another, and then recovered with the help of the primordial spirit chi and the primordial spirit chi. Then, because the sword intent within the broken sword was too strong, it was repeatedly obliterated. Collapse. Collapse. Recombination. Collapse. 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 Recombination. Soon, the rate at which Tsing Hui's sword intent was collapsing far exceeded the speed at which it was recombining. The area of collapse became larger and larger, wider and wider. Rumble. Tsing Hui's spiritual world shook violently. In the next moment, his extremely powerful and condensed sword intent finally could not bear the burden and was completely obliterated by the sword intent within the broken sword. The direct result was, his soul dissipated. His life aura gradually disappeared from his body. Phew. After nearly 24 hours, Tsing Hui suddenly woke up, and a trace of uncontrollable horror flashed in his eyes. What a terrifying sword intent. Even with my current spiritual strength, coupled with the primordial spirit chi and the primordial spirit chi, I still can't withstand this sword intent for more than an hour. It's really, Tsing Hui kept gasping for breath. At the same time, he used the primordial spirit chi to recover his body with the primordial spirit chi. Fortunately, although his spiritual strength had been obliterated by the sword intent within the broken sword, and his soul had been obliterated, the power of the backtrack skill allowed him to struggle out of the state of death. Moreover, because he had actually experienced a round of spiritual strength being obliterated by the sword intent, his spiritual strength had actually risen from the previous 92nd level to the 93rd level in one go, an increase of 2 levels. One day, his spiritual strength had risen by 1 level. This efficiency was not inferior to the first time he had used the Refining God Pavilion. Feeling the increase in his spiritual strength, Tsing Hui's eyes flashed with a bright light. Although this spiritual tempering method completely relies on the backtrack skill, during the tempering process, it can raise one's spiritual strength by 1 level a day. Even if it's shackled by the backtrack skill's 7-day cooldown, in a month, my spiritual strength can still increase by 4 levels. Compared to cultivating in the 9 heavens astral wind layer with the Spirit Wanderer technique, it's much faster. Especially, he could also shorten this cultivation period by improving the backtrack skill. At that time, the fastest he could achieve a round of tempering in less than 2 days, and his spiritual strength could soar to the 15th level in a month. Of course, this was only the most ideal number. Although the sword essence in the broken sword was very strong, it was only a broken sword after all, and its effect was limited. As his spiritual strength continued to increase, and his spirit gradually adapted to the sword essence in the broken sword, the tempering effect would gradually weaken. At that time, he might not be able to achieve the same effect. For a long time, I'll need to use this broken sword to temper my spiritual strength. When the effect of the broken sword weakens, I'll let it merge with the green lotus divine sword to strengthen the sword essence in the broken sword. At that time, it should be able to hold on for a while. When the sword essence in the broken sword no longer has any effect on me, I'll use the divine blessing technique to forge a high-level divine sword for myself. Tsing Hui already had a plan in mind. The backtrack skill is the foundation of tempering my spiritual strength. Tsing Hui glanced at the Dao-carrying item in his personal space, as the Tianyuan bead, the divine realm Kuanpeng blood essence, and the non-falling flower had not been sold. The Dao-carrying item in his possession only contained 68 points of Taoist connotation, which was not enough for him to ascend to the chaotic level. For the time being, he had to wait patiently and concentrate on cultivating the method of transforming his genuine qi into void with the help of the increase in comprehension brought by the Wukong grass. Under such circumstances, half a month passed quickly. In this half a month, he had used 5 portions of Wukong grass, but unfortunately, he still had not reached the perfect stage of transforming his genuine qi into void. Fortunately, although his Jinqi void transformation technique did not improve, his control over his Jinqi had improved from the initial stage of the transformative stage to the perfected stage of the transformative stage. In addition, his mental energy level had increased to the 95th level. He was now qualified to break through to the never-ending stage. However, in order to ensure that nothing went wrong, Tsing Hui did not recklessly start the advancement. Instead, he took some time to completely cure Su Yuan and continued his closed-door cultivation. Another half a month passed. On the second day after he used the last portion of Wukong grass, he finally understood the trick of perfecting his genuine qi into void. For a moment, his control of his genuine qi reached an unprecedented level. In the cultivation room arranged by Su Xiao, I've finally succeeded in transforming my genuine qi into void. With a wave of Qing Ruin's hand, a strand of true essence directly flew out of his body before exploding in that instant. Like a blooming flower, it scattered into several hundred petals that drifted down. Every single petal actually took a completely different path as they drifted down. This showed that his control of his genuine qi had reached an unprecedented level. At this time, he could completely use his full strength to cut off the wings of a mosquito and fly without harming the life of the mosquito and fly. It should be noted that this was a full-strength sword attack, but such a sword attack could be refined to such an extent. It was far from what an ordinary expert at the peak of the transformation realm could compare with. It's just that my spiritual strength is still a little low. If I want to build a nuclear fusion reactor in my body, not only do I need to have a precise control of my genuine qi, but I also need to raise my spiritual strength. Only when my spiritual strength is raised can I sense my genuine qi more clearly and carefully. Xing Hui closed his eyes and activated the backtracking technique again, beginning a new round of sword will training. Fortunately, in a month's time, the heavenly element bead, Kuan Peng blood essence, and non-falling flower that Xing Hui had handed to the Galaxy Commerce Chamber of Commerce for sale finally found a buyer and were sold. Although the price was not the highest because of the lack of time, in the end, he still received 358 Taoist rhymes worth of items. With the 358 Taoist rhymes in his account and the 68 points that Xing Hui still had, the number of Taoist rhymes he had with him reached 426. Currently, whether it's to break through to the endless realm to build a nuclear fusion reactor in my body or to continuously temper my spiritual strength with the help of the broken sword, I still need to rely on the wonders of the backtracking technique. 426 Taoist rhymes. 126 in reserve. 100 Taoist rhymes will be used to replace the expenditure of the Creation Divine Jade so that I can use the Creation Divine Jade to cultivate the reversal of yin and yang to the large success stage. As for the other 200, Xing Hui's gaze focused on his chaotic level. As the Taoist rhymes worth 200 Taoist rhymes worth of items were destroyed, his chaotic level that was at 45 became blurry and directly jumped to 46. After pausing for less than half a moment, it rushed to 47 again. He did not hesitate to use the two newly increased chaotic levels to upgrade the backtracking technique. In an instant, the backtracking technique that he had upgraded to level 3 rose again and again to level 5, the stage of mutation. The backtracking technique has reached level 5. I wonder to what extent it will mutate. With anticipation, Xing Hui's consciousness could not wait to explore the description of the level 5 backtracking technique. Chapter 467. Fifth step backtrack. Xing Hui's gaze fell on the backtrack and he frowned slightly. The cooldown time actually increased from 22 hours to 24 hours. Exactly 2 days, but this mutation, can I choose to go back in time? It was hard to say whether this effect was good or bad. Previously, he had to wait for 24 hours before activating the backtrack technique, but after this mutation, he could choose the time to go back in time. In other words, even if he used the backtrack technique just now, he could return his body to the state before the backtrack technique in the next second. There was no need to wait for another 24 hours, which greatly increased the operability. Just like when he used his sword intent to temper his mental strength, he could only hold on for less than an hour. After an hour, his soul would collapse, and for the next 21 hours, he would be in a state of non-existence, wasting 11.5 hours, which was close to a day's worth of time. But now, the mutation of the backtrack technique solved this problem. Also, if he was in a life and death battle with an opponent, and both sides were injured, if he could rely on the backtrack technique to return his body to its peak state, he could immediately kill the opponent. But the backtrack technique's cooldown time was 24 hours later. By the time he activated the backtrack technique, the opponent was long gone, or had used various external forces or recovery characteristics to return to their original state. It was too late for regrets. And now, the backtrack technique's cooldown time could be controlled, which also perfectly solved this drawback. Another point, it was that he was being set up by others. Those who knew about the backtrack technique understood that the backtrack technique's cooldown time was 24 hours. This way, it was easy for others to set up a trap to target him. Killing many birds with one stone. The fifth step backtrack technique is already like this. I really don't know what kind of changes will occur when it reaches the sixth step. In addition, any skill that reaches the 10th step will undergo a new mutation. What kind of mysteries will the 10th step backtrack technique give birth to? Xing Hui was somewhat fascinated. But now, he planned to keep 126 Taoist rhymes in reserve, in case he encountered a life-threatening situation where he could use the primal chaos level to survive. The other 100 Taoist rhymes would be used to cultivate the reversal of yin and yang. The reversal of yin and yang was related to the concealment of his whereabouts. Once it reached the realm of great success, even the swordsman in the sky who held his spiritual imprint might not be able to lock onto his position and send down his main battle incarnation to kill him. This way, it would be foolproof. Now that I've mastered the art of backtracking, I've reached the perfection stage. Next, I can try to condense a fusion reactor in my body and break through to the never-ending stage. Qing Su thought to himself as he constantly thought about the knowledge he had learned about nuclear fusion in the past. At the same time, he took out the World Inferno art. Through understanding the cultivation method of the World Inferno art, he gained a deeper understanding of the various descriptions of the never-ending realm. You can give it a try. A gleam flashed through Qing Su's eyes. In the next moment, his figure flashed and appeared in the courtyard. When he saw Qing Su appear, a blue darkness realm guard immediately came over to receive him. He bowed politely, Lord Yu Qing. Xing Hui glanced at the green hell realm guard and felt a little strange. After all, he was the benefactor who saved Su Yuan and allowed him to regain his consciousness. Why was the guard Su Shao used to protect him only at the green hell realm? However, when he felt that there was not a single cultivator above the green hell realm in the entire courtyard, he seemed to have thought of something and asked, what happened? The green hell realm guard hesitated for a moment and replied, it's the North Moon Peak. The North Moon Peak sent people to intercept the goods of our Divine Grace Chamber of Commerce 4 times in a row. They even took out those goods and sold them openly at the trading market under the North Moon Peak. This time, the goods are very important to our Divine Grace Chamber of Commerce. Eldest Miss personally led a team of experts to protect them secretly. She's prepared to teach those people from the North Moon Peak who dared to intercept the goods of our Divine Grace Chamber of Commerce an unforgettable lesson. Hasn't the strategy of the Divine Grace Chamber of Commerce always been to focus on defense? Now that they've come out in full force, aren't they afraid that the North Moon Peak is luring the snake out of its hole? I'm not sure about that. Eldest Miss has probably already investigated it thoroughly and is confident that nothing will go wrong. Qing Su nodded when he heard that. Although he planned to interfere with the matters of the Hidden Sword Continent, the Hidden Sword Continent was not the Eastern Wilderness world. In the Eastern Wilderness world, he was already strong enough to suppress all the forces by himself. However, in the Hidden Sword Continent, at least if the experts of the North Moon Peak came out in full force, he would not be able to resist. Moreover, the Divine Grace Chamber of Commerce was not at the point where it was about to be destroyed. Even if he wanted to make a move, he would have to wait until the entire Divine Grace Chamber of Commerce was in despair before he made a move. Only then would he be able to obtain the greatest benefits. Are you familiar with the surrounding terrain? I need an empty place where there are few people to cultivate and experiment. An empty place with no people, the Green Hell Realm Guard pondered for a moment and immediately thought of something. Sir, why don't you go to the Emerald Swamp 6,000 kilometers away? Although the Emerald Swamp is not a large swamp, it has a radius of 800 kilometers. Moreover, there are no special products there and a large number of Class 2 scorpion crocodiles live there. Basically, no one would stay in that area. The Emerald Swamp. Xing Hui nodded. In the end, he said to the Green Hell Realm Guard, why don't you tell President Su Shao that if she is really out of ideas, she can send a message to me. Perhaps I will have a way to save the Divine Grace Chamber of Commerce. The Green Hell Realm Guard was slightly stunned. During this period of time, they had already understood that although Tsinghui had a high cultivation level, he was only in the Transcendent Realm. He was not even as strong as the never-ending realm elders of the Divine Grace Chamber of Commerce. How could he be a match for the North Moon Peak that had several Golden Elixir realm experts? This was also the reason why Su Xiao did not ask Tsinghui to help even though the Divine Grace Chamber of Commerce was in a crisis. However, the other party had good intentions, so he could only agree. I will pass on these words to young mistress. Tsinghui nodded. He leaped up and broke through the air on his sword. In the blink of an eye, he had already turned into a stream of light and flew toward the Emerald Swamp. Stepping on the flowing fire sword and feeling the strong wind blowing against his face, Tsinghui could not help but sigh. I also need to change my flying sword. Although the flowing fire sword has reached the upper grade of the 9th level and is completely suitable for my current cultivation level, and even most of the Golden Elixir realm experts of ordinary birth use flying swords that are only at the 9th level, but I have always relied on the advantage of flying swords when fighting with others. If I can buy an upper grade of the 10th level flying sword, my chances of winning against Golden Elixir realm experts will be much higher. However, flying swords were different from divine weapons. The price of flying swords was usually much higher than divine weapons. A 10th level flying sword could easily be sold at the price of an 11th level divine weapon. Therefore, if Tsinghui really wanted to buy an upper grade of the 10th level flying sword, he would have to prepare at least 100 Taoist rhymes item. Even if he met a seller who was in a hurry to sell it, it would be hopeless if he did not have at least a few dozen Taoist rhymes. I remember that the last time Divine Punishment was put on a sale before our Heaven Dome Empire destroyed it. At that time, an upper grade of the 10th level flying sword only cost 30 Taoist rhymes, and a lower grade of the 12th level divine weapon was actually willing to sell for 100 Taoist rhymes. Unfortunately, I did not have any Taoist rhymes on me at that time, so I did not make it to this auction. It seems that I have to ask people to pay more attention to the movements in the Chaos Temple. If there really is a chaos organization that is facing a chaos war, they will sell a lot of divine weapons. The 126 Taoist rhymes that I have in reserve will be immediately put to use. Tsinghui thought to himself. He had already projected his consciousness into the Chaos Temple and directly transmitted his orders to Yan Huang, Xian Long, Ling Yu, and the others. They were now completely unable to help him on the battle level, but with the identity of the Son of Chaos, they were still quite useful in gathering information. After flying on the sword for 4 hours, Tsinghui appeared in the Jadeite Swamp. This swamp was just like what the Qingming Realm Guard said. It was a life-forbidden zone. Due to the large amount of poisonous fog and fierce beasts, not to mention Awakening Realm and True Qi Realm cultivators, even Spirit Refining Realm cultivators could fall in this swamp if they were not careful. As for mortals below the Awakening Realm, they would die no matter how many came. Tsinghui searched the sky for a while and soon stopped at a relatively high place. Then, with a flip of his hand, 6 formation flags shot out, covering a radius of 10 kilometers. These 6 formation flags were not extraordinary treasures. They were just one of the treasures collected by the Create-Evolve mysterious sect. Relying on the formation flags, one could derive a formation that could confuse others and also had a warning function. The formation was not strong, and true element realm cultivators could break it with a little effort. It was far from being comparable to the Void Restriction mysterious formation, but it was more than enough to be used as a warning. After casting down the formation, Qing Su landed on the ground and sank into his thoughts very soon. The most important factor in nuclear fusion is gravity, or in other words, high pressure. Aside from that, it's temperature. The critical temperature of complete nuclear fusion is 40 billion degrees. Even with how brutal the world-burning art is, I can't heat up my elemental energies to such a degree. Moreover, the temperature that can erupt from complete nuclear fusion is far greater than a hydrogen bomb. As a result, complete nuclear fusion is clearly undesirable. I can only use the tunneling effect to lower the efficiency of fusion and test the limits of what I can endure right now. After repeating the plan in his mind, his eyes flashed with a bright light. In the next moment, the backtrack technique was activated. Then, the vigorous and violent energy in his body began to circulate and accelerate at a terrifying speed. Under his precise control, trace elements began to separate from the elemental core. Simply put, when the electrons outside the nucleus broke away from the binding of the nucleus, two nuclei would attract and collide with each other, causing the nuclei to fuse. During this process, due to a large amount of electrons and neutrons breaking away from the binding of the nucleus, energy fluctuations would be released in all directions, forming a terrifying energy flood. Due to the fusion of two atomic nuclei, the transformation of one type of atomic nucleus into another type of atomic nucleus would result in the birth of a new atomic nucleus. It would then be able to recombine with the other atomic nuclei and continue to release energy. The cycle would repeat endlessly. This was the principle of a fusion reactor. At the same time, it was also the key to Xing Hui stepping into the endless realm. Chapter 468. Rumble. In the Emerald Swamp, a terrifying power suddenly erupted, bringing with it a violent and blazing heat wave that swept across, destroying the swamp within a radius of tens of kilometers in one fell swoop. In the core area, the wet and dry earth was almost burned into glass. After a while, a figure once again rushed out of the blazing flames. It was Xing Hui. Due to the technique of backtracking, Qing Su did not seem to be in a horrible shape at all. Even his vital energies were maintained at their peak condition. However, as he looked down at the emerald swamp that was still burning with heat waves, he felt rather helpless. I failed again. Xing Hui calculated the time. This was already his 12th failure. In other words, this was the 12th time that he had lost control of the energy in his body, and the controllable fusion had turned into an uncontrollable fusion. In the end, he had been blown up by the energy in his body and not even his bones remained. There's nothing wrong with my theory, and there's nothing wrong with my idea. Even if the energy cultivated by the world-burning art meets the requirements of the controllable fusion reactor in my body, the difficulty of perfectly fusing these three to form a stable controllable fusion reactor will immediately increase exponentially. Xing Hui rubbed the space between his eyebrows. Being blown up time and time again until not even his bones remained, no one would be willing to continuously enjoy this kind of experience. In less than a month, he was already somewhat mentally and physically exhausted. Fortunately, dying 12 times in a month wasn't without any gains. Just now, the controllable nuclear fusion reactor has been formed, and it lasted for less than an hour. Unfortunately, when I started to test my attack method, I kept drawing energy from the fusion reactor in my body, which immediately affected the stability of the fusion reactor in my body, causing the energy to go out of control, and in the end, I was blown up into nothingness. Xing Hui carefully recalled every bit of this failure. After a month, he was getting closer and closer to success. He estimated that in this 1 or 2 months, or perhaps just an opportunity, he would be able to completely stabilize the fusion reactor in his body, condense an energy core in his body, and use the energy core as a foundation to allow the energy in his body to grow and multiply endlessly, stepping into the realm of ceaseless. The power is not small. After Xing Hui memorized the experience of his failure, he looked down. Although he had tried his best to release his energy at the moment when he lost control of his energy, the destructive power of the explosion still reached a radius of 20 to 30 kilometers, which was equivalent to the destructive power of the eternal resplendent strike, when he manifested his gold crow body. If he hadn't squandered his energy at the last moment, and instead used fusion to stimulate all the energy in his body, the power, it would definitely improve by a huge margin. It might even be close to a pseudo-divine ability, which was the power of a lesser divine ability. There's a fusion reactor hidden in his body. He's a human bomb. With the backtracking technique in hand, I can use it as a killing move. Although the power of a lesser divine ability can't be compared to a true divine ability, the destructive power it can cause at the level of the Golden Core stage is absolutely devastating. If an ordinary Golden Core stage cultivator is not adequately prepared, I'm afraid they won't have the slightest ability to resist. They will be dragged down by the power of my self-explosion and die on the spot. Even if they react in time and have a 10th order armor and a rare treasure to resist the damage of the flames, they will inevitably be seriously injured. However, Xing Hui understood that this method was not a long-term solution. He could only use it together with the backtracking technique as a killing move. The most important thing now was to find a way to stabilize the fusion reactor in his body as soon as possible. As soon as he thought of the power of the fusion reactor containing the characteristics of elemental fusion and the power of the vital essence, Xing Hui couldn't help but show a smile on his face. The power of the vital essence cultivated by the world-burning art was astonishing in itself. In addition, Xing Hui used a new idea to condense a fusion reactor in his body, making the vital essence even more destructive. Perhaps this vital essence couldn't be compared to other people's vital essence in terms of wondrous uses, but in terms of pure destructive power, it was definitely twice as powerful as an ordinary cultivator's vital essence. Once he was able to truly condense the fusion reactor and step into the never-ending realm, relying on this destructive true yuan, a full-powered attack would probably be comparable to the attack of an ordinary golden elixir realm expert when he unleashed the power of the golden elixir realm. One had to know that golden core stage cultivators usually only unleash the power of their golden core for the first attack. As for Xing Hui, his vital essence was endless, and his attacks were endless. Just as Xing Hui was using all his energy to break through to the endless realm, Su Xiao and the others from the Divine Grace Chamber of Commerce returned to the Divine Grace Chamber of Commerce with dejected expressions. What do we do? What do we do? They actually captured Elder Jean Yin alive. Furthermore, they want us to hand over the item that carries the Tao with 100 Taoist rhymes to ransom her. Damn it, they say it's a thief, but in reality, everyone knows that the one who did this is the Golden Core Stage Guest Elder of the North Moon Peak, Du Longzi. He only gave us 10 days to prepare the item that carries the Tao. Once 10 days are up, if we still can't deliver the item that carries the Tao with 100 Taoist rhymes, he'll directly kill Elder Jean Yin. There are only 3 Endless Realm Elders in our Divine Grace Chamber of Commerce. Elder Danqing was severely injured during the battle with Mu Yinglong of the North Moon Peak, and his foundation was damaged. Till now, he has yet to recover. Elder Si Haiping has already been roped in by the North Moon Peak. It's already the limit if he doesn't cause trouble for our Divine Grace Chamber of Commerce. How can we still count on him to help? The remaining dozen or so transcendent stage cultivators are either injured or have left. If anything happens to Elder Jean Yin, our Divine Grace Chamber of Commerce will really be finished. In the hall, the few injured people whose auras had shrunk were all extremely anxious. Their faces were filled with fear and uneasiness. Su Zhao's face was also filled with bitterness. If not for Su Tong comforting her, she would have lost her composure. At this moment, another guard ran in. When he saw that the atmosphere in the hall was a little off, he didn't know whether to continue reporting or temporarily retreat. What's the matter? Why are you in such a hurry? On the other hand, Su Tong remained calm as she looked at the guard and asked in a low voice. This is Elder Fei Tai Lai, Elder Fei Tai Lai. He's out of seclusion. I remember that he was in seclusion 3 months ago. He said that he was going to cultivate a powerful cultivation technique. Has he finally succeeded? Su Xiao, who originally had a bitter expression, seemed to have grabbed onto a life-saving straw. She hurriedly stood up and asked in surprise. No. The guard hesitated for a moment and said softly, 10 days ago, there was no movement from the food we sent to Elder Fei's cultivation room. Just this morning, the door to Elder Fei's cultivation room suddenly opened by itself. When we entered Elder Fei's cultivation room, we realized that Elder Fei had already left. He even left a message, saying that he needed to travel to find an opportunity to break through to the Endless Realm. The date of his return is uncertain. The date of his return is uncertain. These 4 words seemed to have sucked all the energy out of Su Zhao's body in an instant, causing her to powerlessly sit back down in her seat. In the hall, other than Su Tong, the other transcendent stage cultivator and 6 true element stage cultivators' expressions also changed. The date of his return is uncertain. They didn't need to guess to know that this Elder Fei Tai Lai would never return. Evidently, he had seen through the difficult situation that Su Xiao was currently facing. In order to prevent himself from dying mysteriously like the other 3 transformative stage practitioners who had supported her, he had long withdrawn himself and escaped from this whirlpool. The so-called wandering in search of an opportunity to break through to the never-ending stage was merely an excuse. Damn it. Back then, when the old president was still around, he had trusted Fei Tailai wholeheartedly. If it wasn't for the old president's financial support, how could Fei Tailai have today's achievements? I'm afraid that he can forget about breaking through to the prominent sage stage in his entire life. But now, when our Divine Grace Merchant Guild needs his help the most, he actually found an excuse to escape. He's simply ungrateful. Su Tong noticed the strange expressions on everyone's faces and hurriedly reprimanded them. Under this reprimand, the Transcendent Stage cultivators and True Element Stage cultivators who originally had some ulterior motives instantly felt guilty. However, one of the middle-aged men suddenly stood up and said in a deep voice, "Actually, in my opinion, Elder Fei Tailai's final decision is understandable." "Elder Xing Lian, what do you mean by that?" Su Tong's expression darkened slightly as she glared at him coldly. However, there wasn't any anger on Xing Lian's face. Instead, he faced her and said, "I'm just talking about the reality that we're currently facing. When the Divine Grace Merchant Guild was at its peak, there were only 3 Endless Realm Elders, 14 Transcendent Stage Cultivators, and 49 True Element Stage Elders. But now, how many people are supporting Eldest Miss? Elder Danqing was severely injured, and it's still a question whether he can recover. Elder Jean Yin was captured alive, and if we don't hand over the Dao carrying item with 100 Daoist rhymes, we won't be able to keep our lives. Among the remaining Transcendent Stage Elders, Old He, Old Lu, and Old Zhou died in battle, and Old Fei escaped. Only Yan Yu and Elder Su Tong are left. As for the True Element Stage Elders, needless to say, 9 of them died in battle, and 4 of them escaped. Now, only the few of us are still following Eldest Mississippi. Could it be that Eldest Miss has to personally see us all killed by the North Moon Peaks experts before she can face reality? Xing Lian, shut up. Have you forgotten the oath that you swore in front of Eldest Miss? Su Tong shouted sternly. If I had forgotten the oath that I swore in front of Eldest Miss, I wouldn't have accompanied Eldest Miss until now. But in fact, Eldest Miss, you know very well that we have no hope of resisting the North Moon Peak. Look at us, the only Endless Realm Elder, Elder Jean Yin, has been captured alive, and we're the only Transcendent and True Element Stage Elders left. What about the North Moon Peak? Not to mention the entire North Moon Peak's Golden Core Stage experts, there are more than a dozen Endless Realm experts, and nearly 100 Transcendent and True Element Stage experts. Even if the Divine Grace Merchant Guild united to resist the North Moon Peak, we won't be able to escape the fate of being crushed into powder. Moreover, how many experts of the Divine Grace Merchant Guild are willing to listen to Eldest Miss? 1/3? 1/4? Or even less? At this point, Xing Lian couldn't help but sigh. First, young miss, we have to recognize the reality. Divine Grace Chamber of Commerce can no longer withstand North Moon Peak suppression. Otherwise, in at most half a year, all of us will die for Divine Grace Chamber of Commerce. First, young miss doesn't want to see such a tragic scene happen before completely waking up. Chapter 469. Xing Lian's words caused everyone present to fall silent. Although his words sounded unreasonable, he had exposed the cruel truth in front of everyone. That was right. What was the Divine Grace Chamber of Commerce compared to the North Moon Peak? Right now, the North Moon Peak was worried that the Hidden Sword Venerable was suppressing them, so they didn't dare to act recklessly. But even so, how long could the Divine Grace Chamber of Commerce last by relying on such a slow method? So, it has really come to this. Su Zhao's face was filled with disappointment. Eldest Miss, Su Tong looked at Su Xiao and a trace of worry flashed across her face. Although she was very dissatisfied with Xing Lian's way of saying these words without leaving any leeway, she had to admit that what he said was the truth. Moreover, She knew Xing Lian's character. He was not the kind of person who was afraid of death and would live an ignoble life. Then, what can we do next? I think, Xing Lian was about to say something when a voice suddenly came from outside. Sister, why don't you ask Master for help? Immediately after, Su Yuan, who was clean and tidy, walked in from outside the hall. He looked extraordinarily handsome. Brother. Seeing Su Yuan, who looked no different from an ordinary person, Su Xiao's originally gloomy face suddenly broke into a smile. Even though everything that had happened to the Divine Grace Merchant Guild during this period of time had caused her to frown, the fact that Su Yuan had regained his consciousness made her feel happy from the bottom of her heart. Young Master. The others in the hall also nodded at Su Yuan. As the only male descendant of the Su family, by right, he should be the best successor of the Divine Grace Chamber of Commerce. Unfortunately, he had been harmed when he was young and his sanity had been damaged. That was why the position of Divine Grace Chamber of Commerce's president had fallen to Su Xiao. But now, the Divine Grace Chamber of Commerce could not survive. Even if he, the young master, recovered at the crucial moment, there was no point. Greetings, uncles. Su Yuan bowed slightly to the people around him. He looked very polite. Brother, it's not that we don't want to ask your master for help. It's just that your master is just an outsider. It's not good for him to interfere with the business of the Divine Grace Chamber of Commerce. Secondly, he's only in the transcendent state. Even if he's willing to help, what can he do for the Divine Grace Chamber of Commerce? No matter what, he helped you regain your sanity. He's the benefactor of the Su family. Under such circumstances, the Divine Grace Chamber of Commerce is in a precarious situation. I really don't want to implicate him and bring death to him. Su Xiao looked at Su Yuan. Although she was pleased that he cared about the Chamber of Commerce's business, she could only patiently explain. Although Master is a transcendent elite, according to my understanding of Master, his true ability is far beyond that of an ordinary transcendent elite. If you are really willing to ask Master for help, I believe that Master will definitely be able to help the Divine Grace Chamber of Commerce get through this difficult situation. Apparently, Xiao was Su Yuan's of the heavens. That's impossible. Su Xiao shook her head. Currently, the North Moon Peak is very powerful. Other than the Aurora Peak and the Hidden Sword Peak where the sect leader is, no other peak can go against them. Even if your master's combat power is far beyond his current state and can even stand shoulder to shoulder with the Golden Core State cultivators, he still can't do anything against the North Moon Peak. After all, other than the Peak Master, the North Moon Peak has several Golden Core State guests, as well as many Never-Ending State and Transcendent State elders. At this point, she didn't continue. Hearing Su Xiao say that even a Golden Core State cultivator could not help the Divine Grace Chamber of Commerce, Su Yuan could not help but be dumbfounded. Alright, brother, you're so considerate. When Su Xiao said this, a trace of bitterness appeared on his face. Xing Lian's words make sense. Right now, the North Moon Peak that is at its peak is much stronger than the Divine Grace Chamber of Commerce that is on the decline. If we continue to resist, we will indeed die. Originally, I did not wish for the foundation that Father gave me to decline in my hands, but now it seems, the choice is not in my hands at all. If I continue to stubbornly persist like this, in the end, I will only cause you and the other uncles to lose their lives in vain. Young mistress, a trace of sorrow flashed across Su Tong's eyes. The remaining Xing Lian and the group of True Energy Realm cultivators heaved a sigh of relief as if a heavy burden had been lifted from their shoulders. According to young mistress's words, she was obviously planning to submit to one of the Hidden Sword sect's factions. This way, they would finally not have to live such a precarious life in fear. Even if they might lose the good treatment and benefits they currently had, compared to losing their lives, the loss of the resources that they could use to their advantage was not unacceptable. Then, young mistress, what do you plan to do? Do we choose the Aurora Peak or the Hidden Sword Peak of the sect leader's faction? At this time, the Transcendent State Elder asked softly. Su Xiao glanced at him. Obviously, this transcendent state elder who was loyal and devoted to her father had already thought of giving up. The situation was hopeless. The North Moon Peak has persecuted our Divine Grace Chamber of Commerce many times. Quite a few of our senior elders and elders have died in their hands. Even if I were to surrender, I would definitely not surrender to them so easily. As for the Hidden Sword Peak, they are fellow disciples of the Hidden Sword sect. In order to swallow our Divine Grace Chamber of Commerce, they actually watched as the North Moon Peak persecuted our Divine Grace Chamber of Commerce without doing anything. Such a heartless and unjust peak, I would similarly not choose them, even if they hold the greatest reputation. Then, young mistress, you choose the Aurora Peak. Su Xiao bit her lips. It can only be the Aurora Peak. Behind the Aurora Peak is also a powerful chaos organization. Their influence is not weak. If we choose them, our Divine Grace Chamber of Commerce will have a trace of hope to seek revenge on Du Longzi and Mu Yinglong of the North Moon Peak in the future. Then, I will go and contact the Aurora Peak now. When the Peak Master of the Aurora Peak, Lu Xiangyang, recruited us, he left behind a mother-son communication jade talisman. Su Tong said. Su Xiao nodded weakly. Remember, our condition is that they must rescue Elder Jean Yin. I understand. Su Tong nodded seriously and quickly took out a communication jade talisman. After the message was sent out, they waited quietly. Su Xiao glanced at the people present who were obviously more relaxed after the message was sent out. In the end, she could only sigh. Divine Grace Chamber of Commerce, could they not escape the fate of being annexed in the end? After waiting for less than an hour, the communication jade talisman in Su Tong's hand vibrated slightly. In the next moment, she had already taken out the jade talisman. After reading the message on it, she turned to Su Xiao. Young mistress, the people from the Aurora Peak have replied. They have agreed to our request and will take action 3 days later to rescue Elder Jean Yin. They have also promised to let us follow the Aurora Peak. However, their request is that the Divine Grace Chamber of Commerce has to give 200 Daoist rhymes to the Aurora Peak. Furthermore, the Aurora Peak has to send one person to the Divine Grace Chamber of Commerce. This person will not affect the internal operations of the Divine Grace Chamber of Commerce but will have the right to appoint and dismiss any position. Speaking of this, her tone paused slightly. Including you, young mistress, as the president. Hearing this, Su Xiao instantly laughed bitterly. At least they didn't take away our president position immediately. Isn't that pretty good? After a moment, she said again, then, the safety of the people in the Divine Grace Chamber of Commerce. Once the Divine Grace Chamber of Commerce encounters any problems or troubles, the Aurora Peak will have full authority to solve it. They are treating the Divine Grace Chamber of Commerce as a money-making tool. Su Xiao saw the essence of it at a glance. Su Tong, Xing Lian, and the rest fell silent and did not say anything. After a while, Su Xiao said, forget it. This is already the best ending. At least we are still useful. If we are useful, I believe the Aurora Peak will not abandon us so easily. Then, let's agree to their request. 3 days later, I need to see them rescue Elder Jean Yin with my own eyes. As long as they rescue Elder Jean Yin, I can give them whatever they want, be it the Taoist item or the right to appoint personnel in the Divine Grace Chamber of Commerce. Alright, I will reply to the Aurora Peak now. Su Yuan, who was at the side, saw this and quickly said, Sister, are we really not going to discuss this with my master? Who knows, he might have a way. Su Xiao shook her head. I am very grateful that your master was able to restore your consciousness and teach you cultivation. However, this is not something that a transcendent realm cultivator can easily intervene in. Elder Danqing and Elder Jean Yin are the best examples. Not to mention, there is also the example of Elder Lu, Elder Zhou, and Elder He. Let's not harm him. After saying this, she turned to Su Tong. Just reply to Peak Master Lu of the Aurora Peak like this. Yes, Mississippi. Su Yuan saw that Su Xiao seemed to have made up her mind and could not be dissuaded. He could not help but feel anxious. he quickly turned around and left the hall. However, at this moment, Su Xiao was in a daze because she had to personally hand over the Divine Grace Chamber of Commerce. She did not notice Su Yuan's abnormality and allowed him to run out. After leaving the hall, Su Yuan immediately went to Tsing Hui's courtyard and shouted, "Master, Master, are you here?" Hearing Su Yuan's shout, the Green Netherworld Realm Guard walked out immediately. "Young Master, are you Sun Yuqing?" Senior Yuqing went to the Emerald Swamp and is cultivating there. He has been gone for more than a month now. A month? Then, did Master say when he would be back? This. I don't know. This is troublesome. Su Yuan's heart was filled with anxiety. In the end, he could only look at the Green Netherworld Realm Guard. "Guard Big Brother, can you bring me to the Emerald Swamp? I have something important to tell Master. If I can't let Master know about this, I'm afraid our Divine Grace Merchant Association will be in danger of being destroyed." What? The Green Netherworld Realm Guard was shocked. He was sent by Su Tong to listen to Tsing Hui's orders. Naturally, he was a trustworthy subordinate. He had a strong sense of belonging to the Divine Grace Chamber of Commerce. Now that he heard that the Divine Grace Chamber of Commerce was in danger of being destroyed, he could not help but worry. Then what should we do? We can only find Master now. Only by finding Master can we save the Divine Grace Chamber of Commerce. Therefore, guard, please bring me to the Emerald Swamp. Hearing this, the Green Netherworld Realm Guard hesitated for a moment. Finally, he gritted his teeth and said, "All right, young Master, I will bring you there now." Our Divine Grace Chamber of Commerce has withstood the pressure of the North Moon Peak for so long. One day, we will hold on until the Hidden Sword Venerable comes out of seclusion. At that time, all the members of the Divine Grace Chamber of Commerce who have sacrificed themselves in these years will be able to be avenged. Tsing Hui can finally sweep across the Hidden Sword continent openly. I beg for a wave of 666 recommendations for Tsing Hui. Chapter 470. 3 days passed by quickly. On the morning of the third day, Su Xiao brought Su Tong, Xing Lian, and another transcendent realm expert, Si Tongzhen, to the mountain where Du Longzi was. Everyone knew that Du Longzi was a guest of the North Moon Peak. However, he had disguised himself as a group of bandits and killed the Divine Grace Chamber of Commerce's caravan on the way. Not only had he captured Elder Jean Yin in the caravan, but many of the Green Hell Realm, Vision Sage Realm, and True Energy Realm experts who were guarding the caravan had also suffered heavy losses. However, because Du Longzi had concealed his appearance, he openly occupied a mountain over 4,000 kilometers away from the Hidden Sword sect and flaunted his prowess. In addition, the Hidden Sword Peak was unwilling to offend the North Moon Peak, so they actually turned a blind eye to this matter. As a result, even though the Divine Grace Chamber of Commerce had the intention to report to the Hidden Sword sect, they still couldn't get the support of the Hidden Sword sect. In the end, strength. Other than those Dao-carrying items, the Divine Grace Chamber of Commerce didn't have anything that was worth the risk of offending the North Moon Peak. As for those Dao-carrying items, in the eyes of the Hidden Sword Peak, as long as they helped the North Moon Peak to force the Divine Grace Chamber of Commerce, the Divine Grace Chamber of Commerce would naturally obediently offer up many Dao-carrying items to seek the protection of the Hidden Sword Peak. The group led by Su Xiao quickly arrived at the Poison Dragon Peak where Du Longzi was. This peak was originally a nameless peak. It was named the Poison Dragon Peak because Du Longzi had temporarily stayed here. The main purpose of Du Longzi's stay here was to obtain the 200 Dao Rhyme points in the hands of the Divine Grace Chamber of Commerce. Peak Master Lu. At the foot of the Poison Dragon Peak, Su Xiao and the others had only waited here for a short while when they saw a group of people flying over. Soon, they landed in front of Su Xiao and the others. The leader was Lu Xiangyang. Besides LV Xiangyang, Mou and Zhuang Qianqing were both Golden Core Realm experts that traveled with him as well. Coupled with the 6 Eternal Realm experts that traveled with him, their lineup was so formidable that it caused Su Tong, Xing Lian, Si Tongzhen, and the others to sigh endlessly. Compared to the Aurora Peak, their Divine Grace Chamber of Commerce was much weaker. Ha, Miss Sue, I'm very happy that you've made the right choice. It won't be long before you realize that all the problems that your Divine Grace Chamber of Commerce is facing will be quickly resolved. LV Xiangyang was overjoyed at the thought of receiving 200 Taoist rhymes. He laughed heartily. I'll have to trouble Peak Master Lu in a while. As long as Peak Master Lu is able to rescue our Divine Grace Chamber of Commerce's Doyen Jin Yin, our Divine Grace Chamber of Commerce will definitely follow Aurora Peak's lead from today onwards. Su Xiao said. Don't worry, all three of us Golden Core Realm experts have arrived together this time. So long as Du Longzi isn't a one-track-minded person, he'll know what choice he should make in the end. LV Xiangyang had a happy smile on his face. Let's wait and see. LV Xiangyang nodded. He didn't force Su Xiao and the rest to hand over the Daoist item now. Even though the Aurora Peak, North Moon Peak, and Hidden Sword Peak were all eyeing the Divine Grace Chamber of Commerce covetously and trying to force them to hand over the 200 Daoist rhymes, there was still the Hidden Sword Venerable above them. If they really dared to kill and snatch the treasures, once the Hidden Sword Venerable was alerted, no one in the entire Hidden Sword continent would be able to withstand the anger of this Almighty. Even the North Moon Peak, who had the Heaven Dao as their backing, was no exception. Therefore, even if the North Moon Peak had already sent their guests to snatch the goods of the Divine Grace Chamber of Commerce, they still had to disguise themselves and call themselves bandits. They didn't dare to snatch the goods openly. Otherwise, how could the Divine Grace Chamber of Commerce survive until now? The group of more than 10 people quickly went up the Poison Dragon Peak. On the Poison Dragon Peak, Du Longzi had obviously received the news. However, as LV Xiangyang and the rest had already surrounded him, Du Longzi didn't escape immediately. Instead, he wore a mask and walked down from the courtyard that had been built not long ago. He stared coldly at LV Xiangyang. Peak Master LV, what do you mean by this? Do you want to snatch food from the tiger's mouth? Aren't you afraid that you'll use too much force and break your front teeth? Whether or not my front teeth will break is not up to you. LV Xiangyang looked at Du Longzi and said with a faint smile. Alright, since I've already appeared here, you should understand what kind of choice the Divine Grace Chamber of Commerce has made. Our peaks have already reached a tacit agreement beforehand. We'll compete together and rely on our own methods. Now that the victor has been decided, you should obediently hand over the people and end this matter. Otherwise, don't blame us for not giving you any face and bullying you with numbers. Du Longzi glanced at Fu Yu and Zhuang Qianqing behind LV Xiangyang. His face was a little gloomy. Peak Master LV, you should think about the consequences of your actions. The Divine Grace Chamber of Commerce is already in the bag of our Peak Master. Now that you've intercepted us halfway, have you thought about how to give our Peak Master an explanation? Explanation? If Ji Lianqing wants an explanation, let him come and ask me directly. As for you, you can't make this decision. LV Xiangyang waved his hand, obviously not putting Du Longzi in his eyes. The conversation between the two sides was heard by Su Xiao and the others, but it made them feel quite uncomfortable. Whether it was the Aurora Peak or the North Moon Peak, in their hearts, the Divine Grace Chamber of Commerce had always been just a chess piece that they could need. Its life and death were all in their hands. As for the attitude of the Divine Grace Chamber of Commerce itself, there was no need to think about it at all. It was like a sheep being targeted by 3 fierce tigers. Its life and death had already been determined the moment it was targeted. The only difference was which tiger would eventually eat it. Peak Master LV, do you really want to be enemies with our North Moon Peak? Don't forget that many of the people who support you are on our side. It's just a competition for resources. It's nothing more than relying on our own methods. Your North Moon Peak can't afford to lose, so you want to call your parents? I think even if you really ask the people behind you for help, they will definitely not bother to pay attention to you. Instead, they will question your ability and even turn to support the other peaks. Humph, they have invested so many resources in our North Moon Peak. Do you think they will give up so easily? If the investment and the benefits are not proportional, why can't they give up? After all, no one's resources come from the wind. The bigger the force, the more resources it needs, and the more intense the internal competition, isn't it? LV Xiangyang smiled faintly, as if victory was in his hands. However, Zhuang Qiansheng seemed to have noticed something at this time and hurriedly whispered, "Peak Master, this Du Longzi is stalling for time." Ha! LV Xiangyang's expression changed slightly, and then he thought of this point. He immediately shouted angrily, "Du Longzi, I'll give you 3 breaths of time to consider. Hand over the person immediately, or don't blame me for being merciless." Ha! Hand over the person? LV Xiangyang, don't you think it's a little too late? Du Longzi laughed loudly and flew backward. What? At this time, LV Xiangyang also suddenly raised his head and looked towards the horizon. There, more than a dozen sword lights had already broken through the air at the fastest speed and would arrive in 10 breaths of time. Damn it, attack! LV Xiangyang shouted, and the 2 Gold Core Realm experts and 6 Eternal Realm experts behind him attacked at the same time. However, Du Longzi himself was also a Gold Core Realm expert, and his status was not low. Almost at the moment when LV Xiangyang rushed forward, he had already taken out an item and threw it towards the ground. Immediately, circles of blue flowing light spread out, forming a light shield with a diameter of 30 meters, completely enveloping him and the small building behind him. LV Xiangyang, Zhuang Qiansheng, MOU, and the others used all their strength to attack the layer of blue flowing light. Although the blue flowing light shook violently, it did not break and shatter in the end. This is the blue nether flowing light shield. It can withstand the attacks of 10 Gold Core Realm experts for 10 breaths of time. Damn it! Several Gold Core Realm experts shouted angrily, and one by one, they used their strongest techniques. Under the extremely precise control of the power of the transformative realm, they continuously attacked the blue nether flowing light shield, causing the light shield to shake violently, as if it would completely disappear in the next moment. Unfortunately, it was as if, forever, it was just as if. No matter how the Aurora Peaks LV Xiangyang and the other 2 Golden Core stage experts and never-ending stage experts attacked, they were unable to break the blue sky flowing light mantle. After over a dozen breaths of time, the numerous experts from the North Moon Peak finally arrived. With the North Moon Peak's Peak Master, Mu Xingyi, leading the Gold Core Realm experts, Mu Yinglong, Cui Ji, and 8 Eternal Realm experts, quickly descended. The strength of the lineup was even greater than that of the Aurora Peak. LV Xiangyang, how dare you attack the people of the North Moon Peak? The North Moon Peak's Peak Master, Mu Xingyi, had not arrived alone, but his angry roar had already swept out. People of the North Moon Peak. I don't know anything about the people of the North Moon Peak. I only know that there are bandits lurking on this mountain peak who attacked the Divine Grace Chamber of Commerce. Why, could it be that these bandits are the people of the North Moon Peak? If that's the case, then I have to have a good talk with the Hidden Sword Venerable. Since when did the Hidden Sword sect allow internal strife within the sect? LV Xiangyang sneered. Behind Mu Sheng, Cui Ji's complexion changed slightly. Although everyone knew the truth, he still had to maintain his reputation. Therefore, Cui Ji quickly tried to remedy the situation. We also heard that there is a group of bandits here. So, we came here to subdue them. Our North Moon Peak has already intervened in this matter. Peak Master LV, please don't interfere. Please return. Ha, since you said you are here to exterminate bandits, then why don't you let me see how you are going to exterminate them? Cui Ji's expression turned cold. Why, does my North Moon Peak have to let your Aurora Peak dictate what to do? My North Moon Peak's ability is extremely powerful and not easy to control. Naturally, I don't wish for outsiders to be present. Otherwise, if I lose control of my killing move and injure everyone of the Aurora Peak, it would be troublesome. In the end, LV Xiangyang was only flaunting his sharp tongue. Although the Aurora Peak was strong, it was still weaker than the North Moon Peak. Seeing that the North Moon Peak was stronger this time, although LV Xiangyang was unwilling, he could only let out a cold snort and retreat for the time being. Peak Master LV, our Prime Elder Jin Yin is still inside. Seeing that LV Xiangyang actually intended to turn and leave, Su Xiao hurriedly went forward and said. LV Xiangyang's face darkened, and he said in a deep voice, "Don't worry, since your Divine Grace Chamber of Commerce intends to join our Aurora Peak, we will not let this matter go so easily. We will definitely think of a way to rescue your Prime Elder Jin Yin in the future." When the people of the North Moon Peak heard LV Xiangyang's words, they immediately shouted, "It seems that there are other accomplices on this mountain besides this person. This person is a Golden Core Realm cultivator, and it was not easy for him to cultivate to the Golden Core Realm. If he can surrender to us, we can still give him a chance to redeem himself. As for the other people on the mountain, they must have done many evil deeds. Then, we will not leave any one of them alive and kill them all." Obviously, their words were meant for Su Xiao to hear. There were no accomplices on the mountain, only Prime Elder Jin Yin of the Divine Grace Chamber of Commerce. If the people of the North Moon Peak really pretended not to know and killed Prime Elder Jin Yin, the Divine Grace Chamber of Commerce would have nowhere to seek redress. For a moment, even though she knew that the North Moon Peak was forcing her, Su Xiao could not help but almost collapse. "No. You can't do it." Mu Xingyi and the others had a cold smile on their faces. "What are you waiting for? Do it, kill everyone on the mountain." "Yes." Cui Ji, Mu Yinglong, and the others also shouted loudly. At this moment, an indifferent voice suddenly came from below the mountain. "Is the Aurora Peak going to admit defeat just like this? I thought I would be lucky enough to be able to benefit from a fight between the Sandpiper and the Clam." Chapter 471. Is Aurora Peak going to admit defeat just like that? I thought I would be able to reap the benefits from the fight between the Sandpiper and the Clam. As the voice came from the foot of the mountain, two figures could be seen walking up the mountain path. The one who spoke was a slightly older man. Seeing this man, Su Xiao, Su Tong, and the rest were slightly stunned. They couldn't help but ask, "Mr. Yuqing?" It was Tsing Hui. When Su Xiao saw the young man behind Tsing Hui, her expression changed. She immediately panicked and said, "Su Yuan, why are you here? Quick, it's dangerous here. Leave this place quickly." "Ha, you are indeed a young hero. You are indeed the descendant of Su Hui's great sword sect. Since Su Yuan is here, why are you in such a hurry to leave?" Seeing Su Yuan, the Aurora Peak's Peak Master Mu Xingyi's eyes immediately lit up. "Ting Lu, little brother Su Yuan's body is weak. He might be injured by our energy waves in the upcoming battle. Quickly bring him over and protect him well." "Yes." An elder of the never-ending realm had already leaped up and pounced towards Su Yuan like a shooting star. "Oh no! Little brother, be careful. Aunt Tong." Su Xiao turned pale with fright when she saw this scene. She hurriedly shouted. Without needing Su Xiao to say anything, Su Tong had already pounced forward in a futile attempt to stop the never-ending realm expert named Ting Lu. However, at the same time that Su Tong moved, another never-ending realm expert behind Mu Xingyi also made his move. Even though the never-ending realm expert's strength did not increase much compared to the transformative realm expert, the never-ending realm expert's energy recovery speed was more than 10 times faster than the transformative realm expert. They could completely maintain their strongest attack method and attack continuously. With this advantage, it was not difficult for them to stop Su Tong. The two of them brazenly struck each other in the air. The scattered energy was compressed into a chi explosion, creating a loud boom. They were evenly matched. Then, relying on the Undying Realm's energy recovery ability, they did not give Su Tong any chance to take a breather. That Undying Realm expert's attack had already arrived. Su Tong, who was unable to circulate all the true qi in her body to block, had no choice but to block with difficulty. She was repelled by this Undying Realm expert with a single strike. She could only watch as Ting Lu pounced towards Su Yuan. It was as though he was going to capture Su Yuan alive in the next moment and threaten the Divine Grace Chamber of Commerce to make them submit completely. Peak Master Lu, I beg you, please save my brother. LV Xiangyang's expression changed. Seeing that it was no longer feasible to take over the Divine Grace Merchant Guild through the Golden Sound incident, he immediately shed all pretense of cordiality and said, I will help you stop them with the 100 Taoist rhythms item. Protect you and your brother. Peak Master Lu, you, hurry up and decide. LV Xiangyang growled. Although there was a distance between Su Yuan and the people of the North Moon Peak, to an Eternal Realm expert, this distance of 1,000 meters could be crossed in a few breaths. If he did not act in time, he might not be able to save Su Yuan from Tinglu even with his Golden Core Realm cultivation. Clearly, Su Xiao was extremely angry, but seeing that Su Yuan was about to fall into Tinglu's hands in the next moment, she had no choice but to say, I agree, you want to capture my disciple. Have you asked for my permission? Just as Su Xiao was about to agree to LV Xiangyang's extortionate conditions, Xing Hui's voice rang out from the crowd. Then, he took a step forward and stood in front of Su Yuan. Where did this brat come from? How dare you meddle in our North Moon Peak's business? Get lost. Tinglu's eyes lit up when he saw Xing Hui standing in front of him. A giant snake shadow suddenly appeared behind him. It was like a true dragon that was about to transform into a human form. It let out a thunderous roar and directly swallowed Xing Hui, like a snake swallowing a whale. Ha! Xing Hui glanced at Tinglu in front of him, then at the 7 Golden Core experts from the Aurora Peak and the North Moon Peak, and a series of Transcendent Realm experts. A faint smile appeared on his face. If he had only been in the Transcendent Realm, he would have had to consider carefully if he wanted to intervene in the battle between the Divine Grace Chamber of Commerce, the North Moon Peak, the Aurora Peak, and the Hidden Sword Peak. After all, no matter how strong he was at that time, he was at most equivalent to an ordinary Golden Core expert. The other party only needed to send 1 or 2 Golden Core experts and 1 or 2 Transcendent Realm experts to swarm him and defeat him easily. But now, the moment Su Yuan found him, he had finally completed the stabilization of the fusion reactor in his body and truly stepped into the Transcendent Realm. Although they were both in the Transcendent Realm, the true essence derived from the fusion reactor could not be injected into the jade pendant to form a protective talisman like ordinary true essence. It also did not have any other magical uses. However, in terms of destructive power, it was far more destructive than ordinary true essence experts. Now, even if all the Golden Core experts present swarmed him, he would not know the outcome of the battle, let alone a Golden Core expert. Boom! A round of bright light suddenly erupted behind Xing Hui, like a ball of burning true fire of the sun. In an instant, it lit up a radius of more than 10 kilometers, almost overshadowing the radiance of the great sun in the void. In the endless radiance and the scorching sun, the shadow of a golden crow spread its wings and soared, letting out a loud cry. It directly faced the shadow of the giant snake that was pouncing down. The moment the two collided, an even more violent air wave spread out from the compression, forming a circle of torrents that rolled in all directions. The most powerful impact swept up the shadow of the giant snake that was pouncing down from Tinglu, taking advantage of the momentum to burn the shadow of the giant snake into ashes. This flame, the true fire of the sun, this is the true fire of the sun. Tinglu let out a frightened roar and retreated rapidly, trying to escape the rolling flames that were burning the body of the golden crow. However, Xing Hui, who had gained the upper hand, did not intend to stop there. As he stepped forward, flames suddenly gathered in front of the claws of the golden crow's shadow that was surrounded by raging flames. A giant sword that contained a violent and destructive aura gradually condensed. Even though the giant sword had not taken shape yet, the pressure that it exuded was far beyond the never-ending realm and even beyond the strength of a golden elixir realm expert. It had already made Tinglu, as well as the people of the Aurora Peak and the North Moon Peak, who were confronting each other in the distance, pale. Oh no! This pressure, the strength of a golden elixir. He's a golden elixir realm expert. Tinglu can't block this attack. How dare you? Who are you? How dare you attack the people of the North Moon Peak? The people of the North Moon Peak roared at the same time. As Golden Elixir Realm experts, Cui Ji and Mu Yinglong roared at the same time and pounced at Xing Hui at full speed, vainly trying to stop Xing Hui's pursuit after Teng Lu was defeated. Unfortunately, even though they had overestimated the power contained in Xing Hui's Sword of the Glorious Sun, when the sword really chopped down, the destructive power contained in it still made everyone present turn pale with horror. Under the attack of the Sword of the Glorious Sun, the powerful body of Teng Lu, an expert of the never-ending realm, shattered inch by inch like snow exposed to the scorching sun, and then turned into ashes. The remaining flames continued to burn Teng Lu's body, as if they would turn him into ashes in the next second. Fortunately, Teng Lu had been in the never-ending realm for a long time, and he had many treasures with him. At the critical moment, he actually took out a pearl, which formed a special boundary that seemed to be immune to fire damage. He actually saved his life from the burning flames and escaped. The price he paid was that the pearl-like treasure was covered with cracks. Obviously, even if it was not destroyed, it was not far from it. Swoosh! At this time, Mu Yinglong and Cui Ji also flew like flowing light to the side of Teng Lu, who had retreated some distance away. Seeing the cracked pearl in his hand, the two of them, who knew the origin of the pearl, could not help but be shocked. What a domineering attack, this power! Mu Yinglong and Cui Ji's gazes towards Qing Su immediately turned solemn. Not only them, but the Aurora Peak experts of the Gold Elixir realm also had grave expressions. Xing Hui's battle strength was not inferior to that of an expert of the Gold Elixir realm, especially the attack just now. In terms of power, it faintly surpassed the power of an ordinary expert of the Gold Elixir realm. Although it had not reached the level of an expert of the Gold Elixir realm, it was not far from it. Such a mysterious expert obviously belonged to Su Yuan, who was also on the side of the Divine Grace Chamber of Commerce. They could not help but pay attention to him. Who are you? How dare you interfere in the internal affairs of the Hidden Sword Sect? Aren't you afraid that the Hidden Sword Sect will investigate and you will not have a good ending? Cui Ji looked at Xing Hui in front of him, his eyes full of threat. At this time, Su Xiao, Su Tong, and the others, who were in shock, suddenly woke up. Although Xing Hui had helped Su Yuan to recover his consciousness, they had already guessed that Xing Hui's means were not bad. However, now that they saw that he was able to severely injure Teng Lu, who was at the Eternal Realm, with one blow, they were immediately surprised and happy. One by one, they quickly came to Xing Hui's side. Mr. Yu Qing is the teacher of my brother, Su Yuan. He is also a guest invited by the Divine Grace Chamber of Commerce. Now that Elder Teng Lu of the North Moon Peak is about to attack my brother, Mr. Yu Qing naturally has the right to fight back. Su Xiao quickly stepped forward and said in a deep voice. When she mentioned this, she looked at the North Moon Peak, Teng Lu, and the others with eyes full of anger. Miss Su Xiao, you're exaggerating. We were just afraid that if there was any conflict later, the energy fluctuations would hurt my little friend Su Yuan. That's why we wanted to protect him. We definitely didn't mean to hurt him. Cui Ji replied with a fake smile. Then, he glanced at Xing Hui and said with a faint threat, I wonder where Mr. Yu Qing is from and where is his home. The Hidden Sword Continent is not very peaceful now. Bandits are running rampant. Mr. Yu Qing can enjoy a lifespan of thousands of years after cultivating to the Golden Core realm. Don't fall into a life and death crisis because of making the wrong choice and end up losing your young life in vain. You don't have to bother the North Moon Peak to ask about my origin. I came here this time because I was invited by my disciple, Su Yuan. He said that an elder of the Divine Grace Chamber of Commerce was captured by bandits. Under the clear sky, there is actually such a vicious and sinister person in the Hidden Sword Continent. He actually dared to openly attack the caravan formed by the upper echelons of the Hidden Sword Sect. He is really guilty. After Xing Hui finished speaking, his gaze fell on Du Longzi. Then, as if ignoring Cui Ji and Mu Yinglong's obstruction, he strode towards him. Are you that ferocious bandit? You dare to attack the internal chamber of commerce of the Hidden Sword Sect. Today, I will suppress the bandits on behalf of the Hidden Sword sect and kill you on the spot as a warning to others. Chapter 472. Xing Hui's speed was extremely fast. In an instant, he passed by Cui Ji and Mu Yinglong. Before they could react, he had already arrived in front of Du Longzi. The golden crow above his head let out a long cry and suddenly tore down. The blazing grand sun true fire immediately boiled and burned. In an instant, the air within a radius of several thousand meters was heated up by more than 10 degrees. The temperature at the center of the golden crow's claws was enough to burn any divine weapon below the 10th level into ashes and forge it into molten iron. Be careful, the power of his battle physique is definitely at the divine level. Don't take it head-on. A divine level golden crow battle physique. Damn it. There is no such powerhouse in the Hidden Sword continent. Even Xiao Rui, who is called the #1 genius of the Hidden Sword sect, can only condense the white tiger sacred physique of the 6 saints. Cui Ji and Mu Yinglong shouted and immediately turned to intercept Xing Hui. Ha ha ha, Cui Ji, Mu Yinglong, you two actually dare to stop me? It seems that your North Moon Peak and the Poison Dragon Peak have indeed colluded together. The North Moon Peak actually colluded with bandits to attack the caravan of the Divine Grace Chamber of Commerce. What kind of crime is this? If all the forces in the Hidden Sword sect openly attack each other like this, then what is the point of the Hidden Sword sect's existence? It is better to just disband and everyone will fight for themselves from now on. Qing Su had attacked Du Longzi in order to bait Cui Ji and Mu Yinglong into pursuing him. Now that he saw the two of them charge over, he immediately laughed aloud and turned around. The true fire of the great sun condensed from the golden crow had already surged towards the two of them. That's not right. Du Longzi has just declared his allegiance to the North Moon Peak. Now, he is naturally a member of the North Moon Peak. You attacked the experts of the North Moon Peak, so we naturally have to stop you. Oh. So after killing the internal members of the Hidden Sword sect, as long as you join another sect, you will be able to get the protection of that sect. This method is very good. From now on, I will constantly find people to kill your disciples of the North Moon Peak and then join the Divine Grace Chamber of Commerce one after another. How about that? When Cui Ji heard Xing Hui's threat, a trace of anger appeared on his face. What's the point of talking so much nonsense with him? This kid's origin is unknown. He's not a cultivator of our Hidden Sword continent, but he sneaked into our Hidden Sword sect. Obviously, he's up to no good. Let's kill him together as a warning to others. Mu Xingyi shouted. He then called Du Longzi to cooperate with Cui Ji, Mu Yinglong, and the others. They then rushed towards Xing Hui to kill him. The fact that such a powerful golden core cultivator had appeared in the Divine Grace Chamber of Commerce had already made North Moon Peak and the others feel threatened. They had already made up their minds to kill the person in front of them even if there was a certain amount of gossip. They had to completely suppress the Divine Grace Chamber of Commerce's resistance. Rumble. 4 golden core cultivators attacked at the same time. How mighty was their power? Especially when Mu Shengyi and the others used the power of the golden core. Its power was so strong that it could be said to be earth-shattering. As the flowing light broke through the sky, even though Xing Hui had the golden crow divine body use its most powerful move, the eternal resplendent flame, which exploded into a terrifying blazing sun that illuminated all directions, it was still torn apart by the attacks of Mu Shengyi, Du Longzi, Cui Ji, Mu Yinglong, and the other experts. Amidst the scattered flames, the power of the golden core fiercely bombarded the golden crow divine body. Even though the golden crow divine body tried its best to dodge, it was still blasted apart and its light dimmed by more than half. Good, that's it. His divine body has been seriously injured by us. Everyone, let's kill him in one go. Seeing the dim light of Xing Hui's golden crow divine body, the eyes of Mu Shengyi and the others suddenly flickered. Seeing that Xing Hui was in danger, Su Xiao immediately asked the Peak Master of Polar Peak, Lu Xianyang, for help, Peak Master Lu, I beg you to act quickly and save Mr. Yuqing. Otherwise, Mr. Yuqing will be in danger. LV Xiangyang glanced at Su Xiao, and a glint flashed in his eyes. He sneered, it seems that the Divine Grace Chamber of Commerce has hidden a lot of secrets. There is actually such an expert hidden in the Chamber of Commerce. Even under the joint attack of the 4 North Moon Peak Golden Elixir Realm experts, he has not been defeated in such a short time. Such combat strength is not much inferior to that of a genius who has condensed a high-grade Golden Elixir Realm. Peak Master Lu, Su Xiao looked at Lu Xiangyang and suddenly understood something. Her face turned slightly pale. On the other hand, the Aurora Peak Golden Core expert, Fu Yu, said in a strange tone, Mr. Yuqing of the Divine Grace Chamber of Commerce is showing his power. He is fighting against 4 Golden Core cultivators of the North Moon Peak alone. If he can win this battle, he will immediately become famous in the Hidden Sword Continent and become one of the top experts of the Hidden Sword Continent. This is the battle that will make Mr. Yuqing famous. If we go up to help Mr. Yuqing at this time and ruin Mr. Yuqing's good fortune, what will we do if he comes to settle accounts with us afterwards? We are just the most ordinary Golden Core cultivators. We can't withstand the anger of Mr. Yuqing, who has condensed a high-grade Golden Core. Although Su Xiao had long understood that the Aurora Peak was the same as the North Moon Peak, and their real purpose was to annex the Divine Grace Chamber of Commerce, she still couldn't help but burn with anger when she saw the faces of these people from the Aurora Peak. Sister, don't be angry. Just watch. Master's means are not what these people can imagine. At this time, Su Yuan, who came with Tsing Hui, spoke. His tone was full of strong confidence. But now, Mr. Yuqing is obviously at a disadvantage. Even his divine body was almost destroyed by these people from the North Moon Peak. If this continues, eldest miss, wait a minute. Things may not be as bad as we think. Before Su Xiao could finish speaking, Su Tong, who had been watching the battlefield, saw something. Her eyes suddenly shot out a ray of light. What's wrong? Miss, look carefully. Not long ago, Mr. Yuqing's Golden Crow divine body was attacked by the power of the 4 Golden Core experts. In an instant, he was severely injured. The light of his divine body dimmed by half, and its power was weakened to only 40 to 50%. However, even with only 40 to 50% of its power left, Mr. Yuqing was still able to barely contend with the 4 Golden Core experts of the North Moon Peak. Moreover, as time passed, Mr. Yuqing, who should have been getting weaker and weaker, did not fall into danger. Instead, the more he fought, the braver he became. Now, his divine body is actually, divine body. Su Xiao suddenly turned her head and looked at Tsing Hui's divine body. Although her cultivation was not high, as the president of the Shenhui Chamber of Commerce, her knowledge was not inferior to any Golden Core experts. After carefully looking at Tsing Hui's divine body for a moment, her eyes suddenly showed disbelief. Divine body. Divine body. His divine body was not weakened in the fierce battle, but became stronger and stronger. Now, it has almost recovered 60% of its power before he was injured. How? How could this be? Not only did Su Xiao and Su Tong discover this, but LV Xiangyang, Fu Yu, Zhuang Qiansheng, and the other Golden Core experts of the Aurora Peak also noticed Tsing Hui's abnormality at the same time. Their faces were full of surprise. What's going on? This kid, the more he fought, the braver he became. Not long ago, his Golden Crow divine body was almost destroyed by the joint attack of the 4 Golden Core experts of the North Moon Peak. However, under the pursuit of the 4 Golden Core experts of the North Moon Peak, not only did it not collapse, but it began to recover. It's indeed a little unbelievable. There are several possibilities for such a situation to occur. First, he cracked a part of his Golden Core, and relied on the terrifying power that erupted from cracking the Golden Core, allowing his originally weak divine body to be greatly replenished and erupt with a scene like the final radiance of the setting sun. Second, the foundation that he laid in the never-ending realm is incomparably solid, and the recovery speed of his true chi is much faster than that of ordinary people. Third, it's the divine art. He activated the divine art and used it to borrow power, but I didn't sense the sharp increase in his aura when the divine art was activated. Other than that, it's the recovery characteristic of the Son of Chaos. His recovery characteristic must be extremely high. 8th level. 9th level. Even 10th level. Fu Yu said in a deep voice, with a trace of seriousness in his expression. 10th level recovery characteristic. Both Zhuang Qiansheng and LV Xiangyang were instantly shocked. Logically speaking, as long as one's chaos level reached the 10th level, the recovery characteristic would be able to be upgraded to the 10th level. However, other than those low-level sons of chaos who were only a few levels and felt that they had no hope of growing in their lifetime, who would choose not to add a level of personal space. After all, even the convenience of a level 1 personal space was still enough to save one a lot of trouble. Other than personal space, a 10th level divine art was also indispensable, right? In this way, if one wanted to upgrade the recovery characteristic to the 10th level, one's chaos level definitely couldn't be lower than the 12th level. Moreover, apart from the recovery characteristic, in many cases, when one was clearly just a little bit away from a breakthrough but couldn't grasp the opportunity to break through, how many cultivators would be able to resist spending 1 or 2 chaos levels on their comprehension ability? With all these expenses, those who truly possessed the 10th level recovery characteristic were usually those top-level Sons of Chaos whose chaos level was above the 20th level. As for the Sons of Chaos above the 20th level, there were only 2 in the entire Hidden Sword Continent. One was the supreme ruler of the Hidden Sword Continent, the Hidden Sword Venerable. The other was the current sect master of the Hidden Sword Sect, the peak master of the Hidden Sword Peak, Sword Sage Xiao Luying. Swish! LV Xiangyang directly threw an appraisal technique at Xing Hui. And then, a clay ox disappeared into the sea. There was no movement at all. My chaos level has reached the 16th level, but there's no reaction at all when I use an appraisal technique on him. His chaos level is either above the 18th level, or he's upgraded his appraisal technique to the 3rd level and above. LV Xiangyang said in a low voice. Other than some special personnel, no one would spend too much on the chaos level, the 18th level. It can't be wrong. This child must be a son of chaos above the 18th level. And in our Hidden Sword sect, we know most of the sons of chaos above the 10th level. Yuqing is very likely not a cultivator of the Hidden Sword Continent, but has received a commission from the Divine Grace Chamber of Commerce to solve the problem for the Divine Grace Chamber of Commerce. Floating path. Zhuang Qiansheng's eyes lit up slightly, and there was a hint of murderous intent on his face. Since he's not from the Hidden Sword Continent, does that mean we don't have to care about the rules of the Hidden Sword sect at all? We can attack together, capture and kill him, and force out the chaos formula from him? Zhuang Qiansheng's words moved LV Xiangyang and Floating Path. A son of chaos of the 18th level. If they could force out such a chaos formula, that would definitely be the profit of hundreds of Daoist rhymes. Moreover, the 18th level of chaos was just their guess. If Yuqing's true chaos level was not only the 18th level but the 20th level, that would be the profit of more than 200 Daoist rhymes, which was equivalent to the entire Divine Grace Chamber of Commerce. For a moment, the people of Aurora Peak became restless. Chapter 473. Peak Master. Greed flashed in Mou's eyes. Let's wait and see. It's best if we can benefit from the fight between the Sandpiper and the Clam. LV Xiangyang waved his hand and slightly suppressed the thoughts of Mou and Zhuang Qiansheng. Mou and Zhuang Qiansheng looked at Xing Hui, who was still full of battle strength, and nodded slightly, but they were not afraid. The man named Yuqing in front of them might have a high cultivation base, and relying on his powerful recovery ability, he was not inferior to an expert who had cultivated a high-grade golden core. But don't forget, other than many golden core experts, there were also many endless realm, transformative realm, and true energy realm experts on their side. From the prominent divine stage onwards, the gap between the strong and the weak was not obvious. The main difference between the Golden Core stage and the prominent divine stage was that they were rich and had many methods. Each of them had many life-saving treasures and did not have to worry about the exhaustion of their true energy. It was because of this that they had a significant advantage when facing a prominent divine stage expert. Even if they did not use the power of the Golden Core, they could easily kill a prominent divine stage expert just by relying on the advantage brought by the divine weapons and the many battle techniques they cultivated. But this did not mean that a Golden Core stage expert could ignore the attacks of a prominent divine stage expert. In the case of a sneak attack, a prominent divine stage expert could even kill a Golden Core stage expert. If the prominent divine stage was already like this, then there was no need to mention the true energy realm, transformative realm, or even endless realm, which were stronger than the prominent divine stage. If the people of Aurora Peak swarmed up, even if Xing Hui had the ability to fight against 4 Golden Core stage experts, the situation of the battle would immediately be reversed. On the battlefield, the people of North Moon Peak clearly understood the situation they were in. Seeing Xing Hui become more and more powerful as the battle went on, they had already guessed that Xing Hui's recovery ability must be extraordinary. At that moment, North Moon Peak's Peak Master, Mu Xingyi, did not care about bullying with numbers and shouted to the Endless Realm and Transformative Realm experts who came with them, "What are you waiting for? Attack! Kill this madman who dares to challenge the dignity of my North Moon Peak." 8 never-ending stage experts had come with Mu Xingyi, and only 4 transformative stage experts. However, the fact that these 4 transformative stage experts were able to help them in battle showed how extraordinary they were. 2 of them had condensed a saint-grade battle body, while the other 2 did not. With the help of some unique treasures, their battle bodies possessed the power of a pseudo-saint-grade battle body, just like the Hunyuan Heaven Sect's Grand Elder Qin Zhen. The power of these 12 experts was not the slightest bit inferior to that of 3 or 4 Gold Core experts. In an instant, the Golden Crow Divine Body, which had recovered some of its vitality, was in imminent danger. It was no longer able to replenish its vitality with ease. Despicable! Mu Xingyi, for better or for worse, you are the Peak Master of the North Moon Peak, as well as people with status. Yet, you actually dare to bully someone with numbers. Seeing this scene, many cultivators from the Divine Grace Chamber of Commerce started to curse. Among them, Su Xiao ordered, "Su Tong, hurry up and help Mr. Yuqing." Yes. After receiving the order, Su Tong and the others were about to step forward. However, at this moment, under LV Xiangyang's signal, MOU walked over with 3 never-ending realm experts. The battle between more than 10 never-ending realm and Golden Core realm experts is extremely grand. The energy fluctuations produced are also not to be underestimated. In order to prevent President Su Xiao from having no one to protect him, why don't we protect President Su Xiao? What do you want? Su Tong, Xing Lian, Si Tongzhen and the others hurriedly surrounded Su Xiao and Su Yuan to protect them. Nothing, we're just afraid that you won't have anyone to protect you, so we want to help you. Floater shrugged and said. Su Xiao immediately understood MOU, LV Xiangyang and the others' intentions, and was immediately shocked and angry. You're actually working with the North Moon Peak to deal with my Divine Grace Chamber of Commerce? President Su Xiao, what are you talking about? Strictly speaking, our Aurora Peak, North Moon Peak, and your Divine Grace Chamber of Commerce are all members of the Hidden Sword sect, so we're natural allies. That Yuqing obviously comes from other continents. Who knows why he lurked in our Hidden Sword continent? Now, let's let the North Moon Peak teach him a lesson and let him understand that the Hidden Sword continent's matters are not something he can easily interfere with. Naturally, he'll be honest. Even if he has any tricks up his sleeve, he'll have to carefully consider the consequences of offending our Hidden Sword sect, right? I'm thinking for the long term of our Hidden Sword sect. Su Xiao looked at MOU, who shamelessly said these words, and her heart was filled with anger. In addition to her anger, her heart was also filled with regret. Mr. Yuqing had already vaguely indicated to her more than once that he had the ability to save the Divine Grace Chamber of Commerce, but she saw that Mr. Yuqing had only shown the aura of the transcendent stage, so she was full of distrust towards him. In the end, she chose Aurora Peak, which was obviously also here to annex the Divine Grace Chamber of Commerce. Now, she could have borrowed Mr. Yuqing's ability to reverse the bad situation of the Divine Grace Chamber of Commerce, but she made a wrong choice and ended up in this situation. Now, she, Su Tong, Xing Lian, Si Tongzhen, and her brother Su Yuan were all here. Once Mr. Yuqing was defeated, these people would fall into the hands of the North Moon Peak or Aurora Peak, the Divine Grace Chamber of Commerce would be completely consigned to eternal damnation, and there would be no hope of a comeback. Sister, we have to have confidence in my master. Su Yuan, who was on the side, seemed to see Su Zhao's guilt, regret, and self-blame. He stepped forward to hold her hand and encouraged her. Little Yuan, Su Zhao looked at Su Yuan beside her, and a trace of pain flashed across her eyes. I'm sorry, it's all my fault. It's all my fault for being too willful, so much so that I can't even believe your words. If I had listened to you and asked Mr. Yuqing to help, our Divine Grace Chamber of Commerce wouldn't have fallen into such a passive situation today. With Mr. Yuqing, Du Longzi is nothing at all. He can easily defeat Du Longzi and rescue Elder Jin Yin. Sister, don't worry, things haven't reached the final step. Who knows what will happen? Su Yuan said. Su Tong glanced at Su Yuan, but felt that he was blindly optimistic. It's no use. Originally, when he was fighting against 4 golden elixir experts, Mr. Yuqing relied on the advantage of his body movement to retreat as he fought, and he barely recovered 60% of the power of the Golden Crow Divine Body. But now, with 4 golden elixir experts, plus 12 never-ending realm and transformative realm experts, he can't be as relaxed as before. In just a short moment, his Golden Crow Divine Body has been hit several times, and its power has dropped from 60% to 40% now. According to the estimation that the weaker the Divine Body, the more difficult the situation is. If this continues, Mr. Yuqing's Golden Crow Divine Body will be completely destroyed in a few breaths' time. Su Yuan glanced at Xing Hui, who was fighting fiercely with the 16 experts on the battlefield. After a while, he said firmly, I believe in Master. Sometimes, you can't rely on trust to turn the situation around. Young mistress, young master, we have to prepare. When the time comes, we will do our best to protect you and break out of the encirclement. It doesn't matter if we are trapped here, but the 2 of you are the direct bloodline of the Su Hui sword sect. As long as the 2 of you are still alive, our Divine Grace Chamber of Commerce will not be completely destroyed. Si Tongzhen stepped forward, his expression solemn. He was already prepared to sacrifice himself in order to protect Su Yuan and Su Zhao. Elder Si, Su Zhao's face was filled with pain, and her eyes were filled with tears. It's my fault. Si Tongzhen shook his head, and then glanced at Xing Hui, who was fighting fiercely. In just a short moment, Xing Hui's Golden Crow Divine Body was hit by another never-ending realm expert, and a violent explosion occurred. Large amounts of flames sputtered out, and while slightly forcing the never-ending realm and golden elixir experts to retreat, the light of the Divine Body dimmed again. Alright, Mr. Yuqing can't hold on any longer. Prepare to break out. Wait, let's wait and see. I believe in Master. Su Yuan stared at Xing Hui. There was a part of Xing Hui's consciousness in his consciousness, and under the influence of this part of his consciousness, he understood Xing Hui's strength better than anyone else. Although to outsiders, Xing Hui was already at the end of his rope, he knew that this was not his master's limit. Young Master Su Yuan, Si Tongzhen opened his mouth and was about to persuade him. But at this moment, Xing Hui's Golden Crow Divine Body, which was exuding endless power, suddenly returned to his body. In its place was a powerful battle body hidden in the clouds, filled with a mysterious aura. Seeing this scene, Si Tongzhen's eyes widened. Torch Dragon Battle Body. Torch Dragon Battle Body. This is the Torch Dragon Battle Body. Su Tong couldn't help but exclaim. By now, Qing Su's seraphic dragon physique had already clashed with the people of the North Moon Peak. The seraphic dragon physique might not have been able to match the golden crow physique in terms of attack and destruction, but with special abilities like the Great Sun True Spirit and Light Sense Deprivation, it completely surpassed the golden crow physique in terms of entanglement and defense. The Grand Sun True Spirit could make him immune to a lot of damage and could also absorb fire attribute damage to heal himself, making his recovery ability even stronger. Light Sense Deprivation, on the other hand, could affect the cultivators surrounding him when he was in danger, thus allowing him to break out of the encirclement and resolve the crisis. As Tsing-Hui manifested his Torch Dragon Divine Body, although he was no longer able to fight back, the 4 Golden Core experts of the North Moon Peak, the 12 Eternal Realm experts, and the Transcendent Realm experts couldn't do anything to him for the time being. Obviously, the two sides would be in a stalemate before the Torch Dragon Divine Body's power was exhausted. To be able to move freely under the encirclement of 16 experts, this is definitely a battle body at the Divine Body level. This Yu Qing actually has 2 Divine Bodies. It's incredible. Zhuang Qiansheng of the Aurora Peak couldn't help but gasp when he saw the Torch Dragon Divine Body that even the 16 experts couldn't do anything to. So what if he has 2 Divine Bodies? This Torch Dragon Divine Body is obviously only good for defense, and it won't be long before this Torch Dragon Divine Body is defeated by the 16 experts of the North Moon Peak. He's just putting up a last-ditch struggle. LV Xiangyang snorted coldly. It's true that he's putting up a last-ditch struggle, but don't forget Yu Qing's powerful recovery ability. If he can rely on the power of the Torch Dragon Divine Body to hold on for half an hour, even if his Golden Crow Divine Body can't be fully recovered, I'm afraid it will be able to recover 70 to 80% of its power. By then, he might be able to fight against the people of the North Moon Peak. On the floating path. If the floating path could see this, so could the people of the North Moon Peak. Seeing that Tsing-Hui didn't want to fight them head-on at all, but just kept pestering them, Cui Ji immediately shouted. He manifested the Torch Dragon Divine Body in order to buy time for his Golden Crow Divine Body to recover. We can't let his Golden Crow Divine Body recover. Everyone, don't hold back anymore. Use the Divine Technique and go all out to destroy his 2 Divine Bodies. Cui Ji's words immediately made everyone nod at the same time. For a moment, the aura of the Divine Technique emerged from 10 of the 16 experts at the same time, and the power of the North Moon Peak skyrocketed. Chapter 474. The Divine Technique could raise the level of the practitioner. However, just like how the Divine Technique could not produce a battle form in the Green Hell realm, the Divine Technique of the Gold Core realm could not produce remarkable abilities out of nothing for the practitioner. It seemed that the so-called growth ability of the Divine Technique was only limited to the total amount of energy. Even though they did not derive any divine ability, the attacks of the few Golden Core stage experts became even fiercer as they possessed the boundless true essence that only divine ability stage experts possessed. Time and time again, their full-strength attacks were blasted out with a bang under the control of true essence at the transformative stage. They were like numerous roaring torrents that carried an unstoppable force that completely drowned all the living beings before them. Under this level of attack, even though the Great Sun True Spirit that Tsing-Hui had transformed into could be immune to a large amount of damage, the remaining 20 to 30% was still enough to cause serious damage to the Torch Dragon Divine Body. If it were not for the fact that the Torch Dragon Divine Body could deprive the Torch Dragon Divine Body of its light perception, this round of attacks from the several Gold Core realm experts was enough to completely destroy his Torch Dragon Divine Body. However, as the Peak Master of the Aurora Peak, Lu Xiangyang, had said, if he kept defending, he would definitely lose. Finally, after holding on for more than 20 breaths, the Torch Dragon Divine Body was finally seized by Mu Xingyi. The battle form that was so huge and solid that it was like a giant attacked with a loud bang. A terrifying power erupted on the Torch Dragon Divine Body. Even though it had transformed into the Great Sun True Spirit at the first moment, the Torch Dragon Divine Body, that had dimmed to only 40% was still instantly crippled. As a result, Xing Hui had no choice but to withdraw it into his body to prevent it from collapsing and dispersing. Ha, it's over. Today is the day you die. After finally dispersing Xing Hui's strange and mysterious, torch dragon divine body, Mu Xingyi could not help but laugh heartily. Yes, it's over. The torch dragon divine body was defeated. Although Xing Hui's face turned slightly pale, his spirit had long become incomparably tough under the tempering of the sword intent and the nine heavens astral wind. Coupled with the fact that he had been tortured by the sixth revolution sword chi of the broken sword, even though his divine body was almost destroyed, he still managed to withstand the pain. Now, your divine technique should be about done. So, it's my turn. Xing Hui's gaze swept across the 16 people one by one. Among the 16 people, there were 10 whose chaos level was level 10 and above. If he was not wrong, after a few breaths of time, the time limit for those who were only level 1 divine arts should be up. Now that the warm-up is over, let the battle of life and death officially begin. As soon as Xing Hui finished speaking, the 7 blazing suns rose into the sky. Vast and mighty radiance and terrifying heat radiated from the void, quickly forming a blazing domain that covered an area of several kilometers. Great sun divine palaces sect protecting immortal technique, 10 suns burning the heavens. Basically at the same time as he used the immortal technique of the 10 suns, Qing Su's golden crow physique suddenly appeared. A scorching presence radiated from the golden crow physique. However, Mu Xingyi, Cui Ji, Mu Yinglong, Du Longzi, and the others, who were still a little nervous after hearing Xing Hui's words, laughed at the same time when they saw that Xing Hui's golden crow divine body had recovered less than 80%. I thought your divine body had recovered to its peak state, but it turns out that it still hasn't recovered? Even when your golden crow divine body was at its peak, you could barely contend with us 4 Jindan stage experts. Now, there are not only 4 Jindan stage experts on our North Moon Peak, but the others are also attacking at the same time. Their battle strength is not weaker than the joint attack of 7 Jindan stage experts. I'd like to see how long you can maintain this arrogant attitude. You will see. As soon as Xing Hui finished speaking, the aura of the divine technique appeared on his body. In the next moment, the golden crow divine body that had only recovered 80% suddenly rose to its peak state. At the same time, the blazing flames emitted from the golden crow divine body also soared in power, and the terrifying heat instantly caused the surrounding several kilometers to become dry and dry. Almost at the same time that Xing Hui used the divine technique, the fusion reactor that had just formed in his body began to shrink. With almost no need to worry, a huge amount of energy was crazily poured into it, causing the light inside the reactor to burst out with a sun-like radiance. It seemed that at this moment, the fusion reactor was no longer a simple reactor, but the incarnation of a real sun. A blazing sun that continued to fuse and would never be extinguished. The so-called increase in cultivation of the divine technique was, in fact, endlessly bestowing energy to the cultivator, and could even help the cultivator complete a qualitative change in energy. And the Jindan stage required the accumulation of energy. Roar! A loud and clear chant came out from the mouth of the golden crow divine body. As the blazing sun that would never be extinguished in Xing Hui's body shrank and expanded, a terrifying torrent that was several times stronger than before gushed out from it, instantly filling the golden crow divine body. Jindan eruption. This was the true eruption of the Jindan. This was the power of the great sun Jindan eruption. With the help of this power, the flames on the golden crow divine body suddenly doubled, and then with an incredible speed, it brazenly tore down at Du Longzi, who was being treated as a bandit. As it tore out, it was as if there were countless streams of light shooting out from the void. The fierce collision and friction between the flames formed a violent lightning in the void, and the power of this strike made Du Longzi, who bore the brunt of it, turn pale. This power, this is, eruption of the Jindan. This is the true eruption of the Jindan. Moreover, the power of this Jindan has definitely reached the level of the peerless rank. The power of a peerless rank Jindan. The power of a peerless rank Jindan is comparable to the power of a minor divine ability. It is definitely not something that an ordinary Jindan stage expert can block. Not good, Du Longzi, quickly retreat. Bastard, Yu Qing, how dare you try to kill a cultivator of the hidden sword sect. Mu Xingyi, Cui Ji, Mu Yinglong and the others also felt the vast destructive power of this strike. For a moment, these people shouted in shock and anger at the same time, and with the fastest speed, they attacked the Golden Crow Divine Body, trying to weaken the power of the Golden Crow Divine Body and reduce the power of this strike. However, Xing Hui was determined to borrow the power of the eruption of the Jindan to destroy the prestige of the North Moon Peak, so he turned a blind eye to the roars of these Jindan stage experts. The Golden Crow Divine Body's strike was like the fall of the sun, and in an instant, Du Longzi's figure was completely submerged. Die! No! Du Longzi, who couldn't dodge, roared, and the shadow of a green dragon appeared on his body, trying to block the destructive strike of the Golden Crow Divine Body. Unfortunately, it was useless. How terrifying was the power of the Golden Core of the Great Sun Realm! Under this strike, Du Longzi's spiritual level battle body was like a sand sculpture that was hit by a huge wave, and in an instant, it turned into ashes and disappeared on the spot. Then, the remaining power rolled down, and fiercely swept past Du Longzi's body. The blazing true fire of the Great Sun and the destructive torrent in the Golden Crow Divine Body smashed Du Longzi, a Jindan stage expert, into pieces on the spot, and in the next moment, he was burned to ashes. After killing Du Longzi, the Golden Crow Divine Body suddenly turned around, sweeping up monstrous flames and endless heat waves, and fiercely collided with the attacks of Mu Xingyi and the other Jindan stage, never-ending stage, and transformative stage experts. For a moment, an even more violent torrent of energy exploded at the center of the collision. The blazing energy compressed the surrounding air, forming a shock wave visible to the naked eye in the void. The shock wave and the air violently rubbed against each other, forming a large amount of thunder and lightning, sweeping up blazing flames and spreading in all directions. The air, clouds, and mist in the void were burned to ashes on the spot. Even those tranquil stage and transformative stage experts who wanted to attack Xing Hui's original body, and even the three Jindan stage experts, Mu Xingyi, Mu Yinglong, and Cui Ji, were blown away by the energy shock wave mixed with the blazing torrent of thunder and lightning, flying hundreds of meters, or even thousands of meters away. As for Xing Hui, who bore the brunt of the impact, the Golden Crow Divine Body trembled violently. The powerful energy obtained by relying on the divine technique was almost completely squandered at this moment, and the radiance of the Golden Crow Divine Body, which had climbed to its peak state with great difficulty, quickly dimmed again. Du Longzi. Damn it, he killed Du Longzi. How dare he attack our Hidden Sword Sect's guest elder? Isn't he afraid that he won't be able to establish himself on the Hidden Sword continent in the future? Bastard. Yu Qing, I want you dead. The few Jindan stage experts who were sent flying by the shock wave looked at Du Longzi, who had been completely burned to ashes without leaving a corpse behind, and all of them let out angry roars. However, as they roared, Mu Yinglong and Cui Ji felt a faint chill in their hearts, and their gazes towards Xing Hui carried a trace of fear. Assassin! Xing Hui, he actually dared to kill them. After all, they were guest elders of the Hidden Sword Sect, and the Hidden Sword Sect was the one and only overlord of the entire Hidden Sword continent. Killing a guest elder of the Hidden Sword Sect was equivalent to provoking the entire Hidden Sword Sect. It was precisely because of this that even if the Divine Grace Trading Company had really invited a formidable Golden Core Realm expert from the Chaotic Shrine to assist them, they still dared to swarm forward. Because once they provoked the Hidden Sword Sect, they would have to face the encirclement of a few hundred Golden Core Realm experts of the entire Hidden Sword Sect. With this kind of confidence, they were not afraid of those foreign Jindan stage experts at all. But now, Xing Hui actually dared to kill a guest elder of the Hidden Sword Sect. From today onwards, their lives would no longer be safe. Kill him, Yu Qing, you dare to kill my North Moon Peak's people. You are provoking the entire Hidden Sword Sect, and no one can save you. Kill him for me. His divine body was injured by our attack just now. Kill him now, don't give him any chance to breathe. The peak master of the North Moon Peak, Mu Xingyi, let out an exasperated roar. Mu Yinglong, Cui Ji, and the others glanced at the golden crow divine body that had indeed dimmed, and secretly nodded, suppressing the fear and chill in their hearts. However, before they could make a move, the golden crow divine body, which had dimmed a little, let out another loud cry. At the same time, 7 rays of light shot out from the 7 blazing suns in the void and poured into the golden crow divine body. With the amplification of these rays of light, the golden crow divine body, which had dimmed a little, once again erupted with a power that was not inferior to the golden core of the great sun. Blazing flames rolled and swept over, coldly glaring at the golden core stage, never-ending stage, and transformative stage experts of the North Moon Peak. Immediately, those never-ending stage, transformative stage, and even golden core stage experts who thought they could take advantage of the situation came to an abrupt halt. Chapter 475. Kill me. With just you guys. I've only killed a bandit. If all of you are still so stubborn as to associate yourselves with this bandit, then don't blame me for cleaning up the sect on behalf of the Hidden Sword sect. I believe that even if I kill all of you in the end, and even if Hidden Sword Venerable finds out about this matter, Hidden Sword Venerable won't say anything after he understands the truth of the matter. Xing Hui, with the power of the Golden Crow Divine Body, was completely unafraid of the siege of the North Moon Peak. Seeing that there were 6 people from the North Moon Peak whose aura had dropped due to the time limit of the Divine Body, he flew up again without hesitation, like a blazing sun, and charged straight at the North Moon Peak. Before the Golden Crow Divine Body arrived, a giant sword condensed under the claws of the Golden Crow Divine Body had already condensed, and a destructive aura immediately spread out. Be careful, the power of this sword is so great that a never-ending divine body can't block it at all. Ting Lu, who had suffered a great loss from this attack, hurriedly warned when he saw this scene. In fact, there was no need for his warning. Just feeling the destructive power emitted from this giant flaming sword was enough to make everyone tremble with fear. Seeing that the Golden Crow Divine Body was about to kill this sword, the leading never-ending divine body expert did not even have the courage to resist. He quickly retreated and shouted at the same time, "Peak Master, save me! Stop right there!" Mu Xingyi roared, and the aura all over his body surged. The power of his Golden Crow Divine Body soared, and then, with a terrifying power, he fiercely grabbed at Xing Hui's Golden Crow Divine Body sword. Crack the golden core. Seeing that the never-ending divine body expert was in danger of being killed by Xing Hui, Mu Xingyi chose to crack the golden core. Although he had only cracked a part of the power of the golden core, relying on the eruption of this power, he still fiercely grabbed the Golden Crow Divine Body sword that Xing Hui had killed, and crushed it into pieces. Correspondingly, the power of his Golden Crow Divine Body that erupted from cracking the golden core rapidly decreased. After the decrease, not only was he unable to maintain his peak state, but his aura had also shrunk by a lot, and his vitality had already been damaged. Cracking the gold core. I'd like to see how many times your gold cores can withstand the cracking of your gold cores. The sword of the glorious sun was blocked, but Xing Hui's expression did not change at all. The Golden Crow Body let out a long cry, and the mighty power once again condensed in front of him. Accompanied by the amplification of the 10 Sun Burning Immortal Technique, a sword of the glorious sun, which was only a little smaller than the previous one, was formed again. You can still, seeing the newly formed flame sword, Mu Xingyi's eyes suddenly widened. It's the 7 blazing suns. The 7 suns reabsorbed the energy dissipated by his attacks and fed it back to him. Even if the energy dissipated but couldn't be absorbed in time, the suns transformed it into a special environment that can increase his combat strength. If we can't destroy these 7 suns, he will only become stronger. Cui Ji seemed to understand something, and suddenly made a move. His battle physique manifested, and with a roar, he suddenly spat out a sword light as fast as lightning, which shot toward the blazing sun in the void. However, although the blazing suns formed by the 10 sun burning immortal technique were mighty and needed the assistance of the scarlet sun disk, in fact, once these blazing suns were formed, they would turn into a special existence between energy and nothingness, which had a significant effect in resisting attacks. Cui Ji's thunderous attack, which even spat out his life divine weapon, only whistled through the blazing sun, pierced through it, and blew it up. According to the damage caused to the blazing sun by this attack, the time it took to destroy the blazing sun was calculated. He would have to launch similar attacks 20 or 30 times. And Xing Hui, obviously, it was impossible to give them the time to attack freely 20 or 30 times. Peak Master LV Xiangyang, this Yu Qing is obviously from another continent. Our North Moon Peak and your Aurora Peak are both members of the Hidden Sword sect. Are you going to stand aside and watch this fierce person from another continent slaughter our North Moon Peak? Seeing that they couldn't block Xing Hui's attack at all, and that they, who had reached the second level of the divine art, wouldn't be able to hold on for long, Cui Ji immediately turned his gaze to the Aurora Peak that had 3 Golden Elixir Realm experts and 6 Eternal Realm experts. Cui Ji's words made LV Xiangyang slightly tempted. However, before he could make a decision to deal with Xing Hui had already laughed loudly. Ha! It's fine that your North Moon Peak colluded with bandits to kill the elders of the Divine Grace Chamber of Commerce, but now you want to drag in the Aurora Peak as well? My master more or less has some friendship with the Hidden Sword Venerable. Back then, they had discussed Tao together. I didn't expect the Hidden Sword Venerable to have been in seclusion for so many years, and so many disciples of the sect he established have actually fallen to such a state. It seems that I have to contact my master immediately after I go back and ask him to have a good talk with the Hidden Sword Venerable about rectifying the sect's discipline. What? Your master actually knows the Hidden Sword Venerable? LV Xiangyang, who originally wanted to make a move, suddenly changed his expression. The main reason why the Hidden Sword sect was so rampant now was that the Hidden Sword Venerable had been in seclusion for hundreds of years and had not made any moves. In the past, although the Hidden Sword Venerable would often be in seclusion, he would still show his face from time to time. However, this time, he had been in seclusion for 100 years without any news. Considering the Hidden Sword Venerable's age, everyone was guessing whether the Hidden Sword Venerable had reached the end of his lifespan and had died in seclusion. This was also the reason why the North Moon Peak supported by the Heavenly Tao and the Aurora Peak supported by the Grand Supreme had started to continuously take over the businesses that originally belonged to the Hidden Sword sect. However, once the Hidden Sword Venerable was confirmed to be alive and had been awakened from seclusion, once the Hidden Sword Venerable knew what the Aurora Peak and the North Moon Peak had done in the past 100 years, the two peaks would definitely not be able to escape the fate of being severely punished. Especially him, who was the head of the peaks, would definitely be severely punished. The main purpose of my coming here is to follow my master's orders to come to the Hidden Sword sect to explore the Myriad Sword Peak and see if I can obtain the Sword Spirit's recognition. Otherwise, why do you think I would appear in the Hidden Sword mainland? As for the matter of the Divine Grace Chamber of Commerce, it was just a matter of convenience. Upon hearing Xing Hui's words, the expressions of LV Xiangyang, Fu Yu, Zhuang Qiansheng, and the others all changed. Xing Hui claimed that he had a master. This was most likely true. A person who could awaken the bloodlines of 2 mythical beasts and cultivate both bloodlines to the level of a divine-grade combat body would definitely not believe that he did not have a powerful master to guide him behind the scenes. As for his claim that he was only following his master's orders to explore the Myriad Sword Peak in the Hidden Sword mainland and obtain the Sword Spirit's recognition, this matter was also very likely to be true. After all, judging from the series of reactions of Su Xiao and the others, the Divine Grace Chamber of Commerce did not know Xing Hui's strength at all. Otherwise, if he wanted to save Jin Yin, why would he need to mobilize so many people and even surrender to them and almost put himself in danger? At the thought of this, LV Xiangyang, Fu Yu, Zhuang Qiansheng, and the others already believed most of what he said. Let's go. On the side, when Mu Xing heard that Xing Hui actually had such a background and that it might directly alarm the hidden sword venerable, he did not dare to continue fighting to the death. Of course, the main problem was that if they continued to fight, they would not have any chance of winning. In a situation where they still had enough battle power, the best choice was to retreat in time. After receiving Mu Xing's order, Cui Ji and Mu Yinglong, who were originally a little afraid of killing without hesitation, let out a sigh of relief as if a heavy burden had been lifted from their shoulders. They leapt up and were about to lead the others away. But at this moment, Xing Hui's voice came from behind, "Go? Did I say you could go? Yuqing, what do you want to do? You should know that this place is not far from the headquarters of the Hidden Sword sect. If you really don't want to let us go, we only need to hold on and ask for help from the experts in the headquarters of the North Moon Peak. When the Grand Elder of the North Moon Peak and the young Peak Master of the North Moon Peak arrive, you will definitely not be able to escape death." Mu Xingyi said fiercely. "Is that so? Putting aside whether I can defeat the others of the North Moon Peak or not, if I want to kill a few of you here, it won't be a problem. Then I'll kill a few of you at once. I'll kill a few of you at once. I'd like to see just how many people of the North Moon Peak can withstand my killing spree." Xing Hui leapt up and directly intercepted everyone in the air. Mu Xingyi's heart trembled. When he thought of the great strength Xing Hui had displayed, if he really targeted one or two of them, it really would be difficult for them to escape. For a moment, he could only shout sullenly, "Yuqing, just what do you want?" "It's very simple." Xing Hui looked at Mu Xingyi and said coldly, "Didn't you ask the people of the Divine Grace Chamber of Commerce to come and ransom them with 100 Tao rhymes? Now, your people have fallen into my hands indirectly. It would be impolite not to reciprocate. My request is not high. If your North Moon Peak leaves behind an item containing 100 Tao rhymes, I can let bygones be bygones." 100 Tao rhymes. When he heard Xing Hui's price, Mu Xingyi could not help but scream crazily, "Yuqing, are you crazy? You actually want our North Moon Peak to give you 100 Tao rhymes? Dream on. Then I have no choice but to take it myself. I remember that a Son of Chaos at rank 10 or above can be sold for 50 Daoist rhymes. Since 10 of you have utilized divine arts, it can be seen that there are 10 Sons of Chaos at rank 10 or above. I only need to capture 2 of you alive, and I'll naturally be able to force their chaos techniques out of them and exchange them for 100 Daoist rhymes." Xing Hui's gaze swept across and landed on the weakest and most powerful of the 10th level Sons of Chaos. "I'll start with you." After saying that, the golden crow phantom above his head let out a loud and clear cry. It swept up monstrous flames and charged toward that Eternal Realm expert. That Eternal Realm expert felt the mighty destructive power of Xing Hui's attack and was instantly scared out of his wits. He hurriedly shouted and retreated, "Peak Master, save me! Yuqing!" Mu Xingyi let out a furious roar and was about to join forces with Cui Ji, Mu Yinglong, and the others to intercept Xing Hui. However, before they could stop Xing Hui, the golden crow above Xing Hui's head had already grabbed at the air. A round of resplendent eternity exploded. Under the amplification of the domain of the 10 burning heavens immortal technique, it formed a dazzling radiance that covered the sun, so bright that everyone could barely open their eyes. And in the instant that Mu Xingyi, Cui Ji, and the others were slightly delayed, a shrill scream rang out from the endless radiance. It was that Eternal Realm expert. When the resplendent eternity radiance dissipated, the Eternal Realm expert targeted by Xing Hui's entire body had been destroyed by Xing Hui. Moreover, Xing Hui had directly controlled the power of the Golden Crow and captured him alive. Chapter 476. First 1. Xing Hui grabbed the never-ending stage expert and poured the powerful Great Sun True Fire into the never-ending stage expert's body, causing him to scream in pain. As he screamed, flames spewed out from his ears, nose, eyes, and mouth. The true qi in his body had been completely destroyed. Then, he struck the never-ending stage expert hard, knocking him unconscious, and threw him towards Su Tong and the others. Watch him. This is 50 Taoist rhymes. After saying that, he pounced again. This time, his target was another never-ending stage expert who had a divine art. Stop! 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 Seeing one of their never-ending stage experts captured by Tsing Hui in an instant and unable to do anything to Tsing Hui, Mu Xingyi, the peak master of the North Moon Peak, finally couldn't hold it in any longer. I'll give you 100 Taoist rhymes. Release him immediately. He knew that he had to do so. Otherwise, the elders of the North Moon Peak, who were originally dissatisfied with the North Moon Peak's allegiance to the heavenly Tao, would definitely be dissatisfied. At that time, the North Moon Peak would be unable to rise again and would no longer be able to compete with the Aurora Peak and the Hidden Sword Peak. I'll give you the Taoist rhymes you want. Oh. Tsing Hui's hand movements paused slightly as his gaze fell on Mu Xingyi. Where's the Taoist rhymes item? You have to release him first before I give you the Taoist rhymes item. Ha, you want me to release him without seeing the Taoist rhymes item? Mu Xingyi saw Tsing Hui's sneer and immediately said angrily, don't forget that Jin Yin of the Divine Grace Chamber of Commerce is still in my hands. Hearing Mu Xingyi's words, Su Xiao suddenly stepped forward and said sternly, Mu Xingyi, you've finally admitted that you're the one who ordered Du Longzi to capture Elder Jin Yin of the Divine Grace Chamber of Commerce. Release Senior Elder Jin Yin immediately. Otherwise, I will definitely use the channels of my Divine Grace Merchant Guild to spread the news to everyone. I will let the entire Hidden Sword sect, and even the entire Hidden Sword continent, know that your North Moon Peak killed their own sect's senior elder. Oh. If you didn't mention it, I would have forgotten. You even captured Elder Jin Yin from the Divine Grace Merchant Guild. Where is she? Let him go. Tsing Hui chimed in. Mu Xingyi said in a deep voice, will hand Doyan Jin Yin over to you, but you'll have to reduce the Tao rhythm you requested by half. Do you think this is a negotiation? Cut it in half. I can't be bothered with Senior Elder Jin Yin's life or death. If you really have the ability, you can just kill her directly. At most, I'll get the people of the Divine Grace Chamber of Commerce to prepare a shadow stone and spread the scene of you killing Senior Elder Jin Yin throughout the entire Hidden Sword sect. I'll let the people of the Hidden Sword sect understand the methods of your North Moon Peak to kill your fellow sect members. As for the 100 Taoist rhymes that you should hand over, it can't be less. Yuqing, don't go too far. Mu Xingyi furiously shouted. So what if I bully you? Could it be that your North Moon Peak's various methods against the Divine Grace Merchant Guild can be considered as frequent courtesy? Tsing Hui coldly replied. Seeing that Tsing Hui had angered the people of the North Moon Peak endlessly, the Divine Grace Merchant Guild was somewhat dissatisfied with him for not caring about Senior Elder Jin Yin's life, but they still felt a sense of relief in their hearts. For so many years, the Divine Grace Merchant Guild had been suppressed by the North Moon Peak, and it was almost impossible for them to breathe. On average, the North Moon Peak would pressure the Divine Grace Merchant Guild more every month, causing the people of the Divine Grace Merchant Guild to be filled with grievances. However, today, it was finally their turn to force the North Moon Peak's peak master, Tsing Hui, into silence. Even if this kind of coercion was brought on by Tsing Hui, who was not a member of the Divine Grace Merchant Guild, it still made them feel a sense of pride. I don't want to talk too much nonsense with you. Either hand over the Taoist item, or I'll do it myself. In any case, as long as I capture one of you and force him to hand over the Primal Chaos incantation, the 100 Taoist rhymes will be in my hands. Why wouldn't I do it? Tsing Hui coldly snorted. This guy's way of doing things will bring about a disaster sooner or later. Seeing Tsing Hui's aggressive attitude towards the North Moon Peak, Lu Xiangyang, the peak master of the Aurora Peak, felt an inexplicable sense of displeasure. Oh, so what if he can take back the 100 Taoist rhymes treasure? Don't forget, the strongest person of the North Moon Peak is not Mu Xingyi and the others, but the Great Elder who has joined the Way of Heaven and has received strong support from the Way of Heaven. It is said that the Great Elder has cultivated a superior grade gold core, and he has many magic weapons. Coupled with the enhancement of his chaotic level, his strength is not much inferior to Yu Qing's. As long as there are one or two experts of the gold core realm, it will be easy to defeat him. At that time, wouldn't the North Moon Peak have to obediently hand over all the Taoist Rhymes treasures? Not only would they have to hand over all the treasures, but they might also lose many of their treasures. After all, he is not a member of the Hidden Sword sect, so the people of the North Moon Peak don't have to worry as much about him as they do about the Divine Grace Merchant Guild. Mou sneered. That's not necessarily true. This guy's background is also very shocking. What if he brings out his master? Zhuang Qiansheng interrupted. Master? He has a backer, but doesn't the North Moon Peak have one as well? In addition to the Great Elder, the North Moon Peak also has a young peak master, Bei Yu Xian. Bei Yu Xian is the disciple of sect master Qi Xian, one of the 36 Taoists of the Way of Heaven. Although sect master Qi Xian took him in partly because he liked Bei Yu Xian's cultivation talent, the main reason was to rope in the North Moon Peak so that he could intervene in the affairs of the Hidden Sword sect. Once a powerful outsider dares to stir up trouble and ruin sect master Qi Xian's plan, do you think sect master Qi Xian will be willing to let it go? No matter how powerful Yu Qing's background is, it can't be more powerful than the sect master of the Way of Heaven. Mou's words made Zhuang Qiansheng open his mouth, but he didn't know how to refute. After a long while, he said nothing, which was a tacit agreement. I'll give you the 100 Taoist Rhymes treasures. I only hope that you can hold on to these 100 Taoist Rhymes treasures. Just as Mou had guessed, Mu Xingyi forcibly swallowed his anger. With a flip of his hand, he had already taken out dozens of Taoist Rhymes treasures from his personal space. Seeing those Taoist Rhymes treasures, Xing Lian of the Shenhui Chamber of Commerce couldn't help but curse, damn it. More than half of these Taoist Rhymes treasures belong to our Hidden Sword sect's resource points. We need to turn them over to the main sect. The main sect will keep 10%, and give Hidden Sword Venerable 50%. The remaining 40% will be evenly distributed to the other 36 peaks. But in fact, the distribution of Taoist Rhymes treasures to the other peaks has decreased by more than 10 times compared to 100 years ago. Some of the smaller peaks haven't received any Taoist Rhymes treasures for decades. Obviously, they've all fallen into the North Moon Peak's pockets. They're so blatantly pocketing the Taoist Rhymes treasures. The North Moon Peak and the Aurora Peak should provide the Hidden Sword Peak with the same amount of Tao carrying items every year. In fact, it has even increased compared to before. In addition, the North Moon Peak, the Aurora Peak, and the other peaks have settled down a few other large peaks that have Golden Elixir Realm experts guarding them. Who would care about the survival of the remaining small peaks? Su Xiao said coldly, I'd like to see how Hidden Sword Venerable will deal with Hidden Sword Venerable when he comes out of seclusion and sees that the entire Hidden Sword Peak is in such a mess because of them. Su Tong glanced at Su Xiao. In fact, she more or less knew why the North Moon Peak and Aurora Peak were so fearless. Firstly, it was rumored that Hidden Sword Venerable had already died of old age in seclusion. Secondly, even if Hidden Sword Venerable really wanted to get rid of them, the two peaks were backed by the Peak Chaos Organization's Heavenly Tao and Grand Supreme. Hidden Sword Venerable might not dare to fall out with them and kill the top executives of the two sections. This was the difference between having a background and not having one. Very good, at least you know what's good for you. As for whether I can keep these Taoist Rhymes treasures for 100 years, that's not something you need to consider. Xing Hui directly put the Taoist Rhymes treasures into his personal space and then made a gesture to Su Xiao. Su Xiao naturally released her control over the Eternal Expert. Immediately, a never-ending realm expert rushed over and quickly brought him back to the North Moon Peaks team. Jean Yin is in that courtyard. You'll know if you go and check it out yourselves. Let's go. Mu Xingyi said with a black face. Then, he waved his hand and quickly left with the North Moon Peak team. He didn't want to stay on this peak for a second longer. This time, Not only did he lose Du Longzi, the golden core expert he had roped in, but he also lost 100 Taoist rhymes. It wasn't an exaggeration to say that he had suffered a double loss. Therefore, he definitely wouldn't let this matter go easily. Xing Hui naturally understood this point. However, he wasn't afraid. If not for the fact that he wasn't from the Hidden Sword sect and might cause Hidden Sword Venerable to be displeased by killing the Hidden Sword Venerable, he didn't intend to let any of the people from the North Moon Peak off. 10 rank 10 Sons of Chaos. That was an income of 500 Taoist rhymes. Although it was impossible for him to capture all of these Sons of Chaos alive during the battle, and sometimes he couldn't control his strength and accidentally killed them, even half of them were equivalent to 250 Taoist rhymes. Where else could he find such a bountiful harvest? It was no wonder that even in the Infinite Region, there were many organizations that specialized in hunting Sons of Chaos. Although this trip was extremely dangerous, the benefits were far beyond that of an ordinary sea-crossing merchant association. Let's go. Seeing that the people from the North Moon Peak had left, the people from the Aurora Peak didn't dare to stay any longer. They were afraid that Xing Hui would turn around and extort them again. At this moment, Xing Lian also rushed into Du Longzi's courtyard and rescued Elder Jean Yin, who was unconscious. Phew! Seeing that Elder Jean Yin was safe and sound, the people from the Divine Grace Chamber of Commerce heaved a sigh of relief. On the other hand, Su Xiao stepped forward and bowed deeply to Xing Hui. Lord Yuqing, the entire Divine Grace Chamber of Commerce thanks Lord Yuqing for your help. It's alright, I saved all of you entirely for the sake of my disciple, Su Yuan. However, this is the only time. Hearing that, Su Xiao thought of the request that Xing Hui had made previously. She immediately gritted her teeth and said, Lord Yuqing, if you can really help the Divine Grace Chamber of Commerce solve the current problem and get through the crisis, we are willing to offer you all the Taoist items that contain more than 200 Taoist rhymes that we have accumulated over the years. You're tuning in to the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.